Welcome to Nintendo Dads episode 414, recorded on February 16th, 2023. On tonight's episode, with special guest Philip Summers of Hand Drawn Gaming, we talk about his journey with Hand Drawn Gaming since his last visit with us in September 2021. We'll also discuss Nintendo Switch sales momentum and just how long has Nintendo been holding on to Metroid Prime Remastered. And have you reached out to Super Mario Bros. Plumbing to have your plumbing fixed? Jesse, you know what to do.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Nintendo Dads. It's episode 414, and it is February the 16th, 2023, and we are here to talk about all things Nintendo. And with us tonight, a very special guest who's appeared on the show before, but we're glad and so happy to welcome back Mr. Philip Summers. Philip, how are you before I introduce the guys?
Great. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, we are so glad that you've taken a little bit of your time. I know you're busy. We loved having you on the show last time, and so we're excited you're here with us this time. Also joining me on the show this week is Mr. Jesse Waldak, who, if you didn't know, Philip, is Nintendo Dad's 7-year running Employee of the Year.
Wow.
That's an incredible achievement.
Because I push the buttons and makes noises happen.
When I grow up, I want to be just like Jesse.
You too can be. You too can be. But anyway, Jesse, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. During Valentine's Day earlier this week, so while my wife and I went out to dinner, I was talking to her about that Game Boy Interceptor project that has kind of stalled a little bit, and she goes, "Why don't you go to the community college and take a class that would teach you how to solder better?" I'm like, I don't know why I didn't think of that, but that's a good idea. So I'm going to be looking into seeing if I take a class when they have enrollment this summer or fall. So it'll be a while, but because their spring semester just started. But that's something I'm looking into doing. Because she has taken jewelry making and metalworking classes at the community college just to support her habit. So why the hell can't I to support my habit?
Sure. Exactly.
Yeah. Why not? Speaking of habits, Tim Off, why can't I quit you?
I don't know. I think you need an intervention. And there's a lot of intervention going on lately in our Discord, too, if you haven't seen that. Just jokingly. Anyways, but I'm doing good. As I mentioned in the pre-show, just new work starting in the new year is keeping me busy. So have been able to game much, but when I do, I've been having fun with the game I've been playing. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, work has been keeping me busy. In fact, enough so to where actually after hours I do a little bit more. It's because I'm trying to get stuff down.
Oh boy!
Not because I don't want to. It's actually stuff I'm interested in. So
good.
Thankfully, that's what makes it interesting. But yeah, it's I guess I'm adulting,
If you weren't recording right now, would you be doing work?
No, I would be sitting on the couch.
Notice there was a little bit of hesitation there.
No. Yeah, there's a certain point I'd cut off, and because it's like I'd want to go hang out with my wife and either watch something on TV, or if she's playing a game, then I'm playing a game. So
yeah. Awesome.
How about you, Marty?
Yeah, it's been a good week around here. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show before, but we're in the town over from us, which is about 30 minutes away. We're there 4 times a week now, or 5, depending, because my daughter is she's in ballet, and she's pretty good at it, and so we encourage her and chase your dreams and all that. So. She's in 7 ballet classes or dance classes each week. One of those is a stretching class, so it's really like 6 classes. But then on Saturday and now Friday, as performance time is getting closer, she's also part of a local ballet troupe in the city. that they do a performance of the Nutcracker every Christmas, and they do like a Disney show or something every spring. It's Snow White this year. So she's working on that. And so that meant on Tuesday night's actually her longest night of class. She starts at 4 and is done at 8:15. And so that meant that we were there in time to have a meal together, my wife and I, for Valentine's Day. And so she hates Valentine's Day with an absolute passion. She cannot stand the holiday. She calls it a corporate holiday, which I agree. But that's a whole nother podcast, right? But we were going to go to this local Asian place that I really like, called Asia Garden. They do like it's not like a buffet. They do make everything fresh right when you order it, and so they do like they have a Chinese menu and a Japanese menu. You can order off both, so you can have like General Tso's chicken and a sushi roll, which is, if you want to do that, that's great. Nice. And not like she likes that place, but I know that's not her favorite. And y'all, as bougie and as this is, one of her favorite places is Outback Steakhouse. And so like we're driving and we're driving, and I was like, she's like, why are we turning here? And I was like, I don't know. Why are we turning here? And we pulled in the Outback parking lot and she's like, are you taking me to Outback? I was like, yes, this is me. I was like, and guess what? After this, we're going to go walk around Hobby Lobby.
Oh man,
for as long as you want. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to buy you coffee at any place that you want. So it was like, let's celebrate you, because she's done a lot of celebrating for me.
All of a sudden, it wasn't that corporate, was it?
No, I mean, like her thing is like when we talk about like when you think about like how somebody feels loved, mine is gifts. Give me stuff. Yes. Yeah. If you could see my office, it's give me things. That's how you. Yes. Hers is time spent. So it's all about like spending time together, and you took the initiative to plan something for me. Mm-hmm. It was good. It was a good meal. It was a really good. Yeah, I don't even get steak when I go there. It's not I like their steak, but they have a chicken dish that I just love. It's called Alice Springs chicken. It's grilled chicken with honey mustard on top with bacon and cheese, and it's totally not good for you at all, and it's delicious. It's the best. And we had
not good for you. Did you do the bloomin' onion? Because we do that.
Oh yeah,
we go to Outback.
y'all. Can I tell you something? I hate onions. I hate onions. Like I don't even. The only time I like an onion is if it's dipped in batter and fried, like the crispy onion straw style, not the big thick kind. Yes. I don't want to have to chew it. I just want to be able to it's just there. It's like a little sliver. Right. And so the lady comes by and she's like, our waitress, and she's like, all right, what do you want to drink? So we both get water, because we're on this thing this year where we're like, when we go out to eat, we drink water, because Cokes are now like $3 or $4 at restaurants. It's insane. And when you got kids, it adds up very quickly. So we're like, we'll have water. And they're like, would you have any appetizers? She goes to say no. And I'm like, yeah, we'll have a bloomin' onion. And she looked over at me and she was like, yep. Right. Y'all, if this proves anything, it just proves that the Estes family is easy to please. We're just content with the Outback Steakhouse, with all of our other silly goose middle class families hanging out.
That's good.
But it's a good week. But this month is hell month, because there's just so much going on. But it's almost over. I've managed to dig myself out this week and actually find time to play video games, and it's awesome. And now I've realized I've really talked way too long about myself. Nobody wants to hear that.
Hey, it was good timing because of the Valentine's Day and stuff like that, and good stories.
Tim, everybody loves that kind of stuff. Notice Tim, he didn't say he did anything, so he hates his wife. No, I'm just kidding, Tim. I'm just kidding. It has to be better than all of the years that I've tried to do something grandiose, and she's just looked at it and been like, yeah, okay. Because that's who she is. She's totally not impressed by that. But anyway, Here's what we can be impressed about: the lack of news we've got this week. So how about we just dive in for a couple of snippets here? And of course, our show each and every week is brought to us by Manscaped, and we'll talk about that later. But it's also brought to us by you guys over at patreon.com/NintendoDads, where you can go and join up with our community of fine folks, one of the best communities on the internet. And you can do that for as little as $1 a month. In fact, if you $1 a month, so $12 a year, or if you want to go all in and you want to, do like a yearly subscription, you get a month off. It'd be $11, and that's not distracting at all. Thank you, Justin. Justin's here, by the way. He came in to distract us all. Way to, show up late.
Listen, we've been doing the show for 400 episodes, and you decide recently to change the time? That is not on me, all right? That is on somebody else. So jog on. Keep walking.
It's called I'm getting old. Says the man who agreed to the time change.
I am Canadian. I am all about compromise and politeness, but really deep down, I hate you.
Is the normal time 10? Is the normal time? Well, 10 Eastern.
It used to be 10 Central. Yes.
10 Eastern.
But we moved up an hour because some of us are getting old, and I would like to, go to bed. But anyway, Justin, I was just telling them about all our fine folks over at patreon.com/NintendoDads, where you can jump in $1, $5, $10, or $30 tier. $30 tier gets you on the show as a Patreon producer. $10 a month gets pre and post show audio and art card. $5 gets access to all of our sub channels on the Discord. $1 just gets you in the door and gets you talking.
I say a lot of things about Marty. I'm going to tell you right now, though, he ain't lying. He is not a liar. Those are all true statements that he has just made. Yes. Everything else I say, is accurate also, but those are true statements that Marty has made.
Some of the things that you say about me, we have to censor out at the end of the show. To keep our family friendly rating. Justin, we were just about to dive into our headlines here. So a ton of news is not here this week, unlike last week. But we do have a couple of things we want to highlight here. Just two random news articles. Let's talk about the fun one first. Okay, let's talk about the fun one. Sunday afternoon, prior to the Super Bowl, Nintendo and DreamWorks dropped what I think is a pretty brilliant ad campaign for the Super Mario movie, with a a commercial that harkened back to the glory days of the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, that now as an adult I can't stand to watch. I'm sorry. Here's why. Here's why.
Stupid.
It is fun. It is fun until your son has 2 DVDs of it and he watches it for 8 hours a day. Because he's obsessed with Mario.
That sounds like a parenting problem.
We eventually found Cars.
It sounds like an ADHD problem.
Then that changed to the Donkey Kong Country CGI show, which, if you want to talk about a dumpster fire,
that's going down the wrong direction.
Yeah, he's just progressive. But anyway, so the commercial comes out, look, cute jingle, some testimonials. There's a phone number and a website at the end where you could call and text. So not only are we getting this commercial that's a great callback, great marketing here, but there's an entire social media kind of campaign or game that's going along with it. I don't know if you guys signed up for the text through this, but this week they texted me a brand new poster. They sent out the email blast. So it's kind of like, hey, we're running a sale on the plumbing. And this is what we found, when we were cleaning out the pipe, and it was the Toad poster for the movie. Cool. So I got that, but I just thought it was really cool. And Jesse, you actually pulled some audio from it, correct?
I did.
Let's hear that.
I called the number and recorded the audio.
Thank you for calling Super Mario Brothers Plumbing. It's me, Luigi. If you need service, please text us at the same number you just called, 92955 Mario. That's 929-556-2746. Message us about any issues wherever you live, house, condo, mansion, and we'll be sure to text you back right away, because at Super Mario Brothers Plumbing, we don't say let's wait, we say let's go. Oh, and check our website, smbplumbing.com. We're still working on it, so more updates to come. Bye-bye.
I found that "let's wait, let's go" line brilliant.
That
well,
call...
and
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
No, go ahead, Philip. I'm sorry.
So I saw the commercial and I saw the number, and then I saw you could call the number, and I was like, well, I'm not doing that. I don't care. And then I decided to call the number, and for whatever, it floored me. I don't know why, but something happened where I'm just listening to this, and I guess it became real. You know what I mean? I don't know. There was just something about it. It's so simple, but it's I got Luigi talking to me on the phone. I got Charlie Day acting like Luigi. And I don't know. There was just something about it where it just completely got me. I I hope this movie's great. Because so far all the advertising for it is great. The trailers have been great. And I just hope when it's finally time to watch this thing that not only is it good, but I hope people see it, and who knows what it leads to, right? It's pretty important.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about this on other shows. I think this is going to make $1 billion.
I hope.
It's gonna be the kids movie of the year, I think.
Yeah, Marty and I predicted that it will outgrow Lion King.
Wow. The live action Lion King or the old Lion King? Which one did better?
Live action did better, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was terrible.
It's currently the record holder for the highest grossing animated movie.
See, my bar was Sonic the Hedgehog. Sorry. I keep cutting you off.
No, that's no. I look. You got to talk over me. That's just the way we. That's the way we do things.
There's 5 of us here. You're just gonna have to talk.
Yeah. Sorry. What were you saying though about Sonic? Because you were saying the bar is Sonic.
Yeah, my bar was Sonic, because those movies have done really well. So if it does better than those, to me that would be a good sign. I don't know what they're thinking, but if it does worse than Sonic, then I feel that would be kind of a oh no type moment. But I don't know I'm sure they're looking at it completely different than me. But
I think I loved this advertisement campaign, right? The website, the reviews. The thing that really struck out, I listened to some other podcasts this week that really got me thinking about it, was if this is the love and care and kind of Easter egg nostalgias that they're literally putting into a 30-second clip, right? Whether it's the original Super Mario Brothers theme. P.S. I guess the woman who is in the commercial is the voice of Princess Peach from the cartoon.
There's debate about that.
There's debate. Okay, fair enough.
There is.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'll just if you're just even take that aside, just all those little love and care, right? The SMB, all of that, even if I don't know, it just gets me more excited. It does its job well. Because I feel as Super Mario fans, there's going to be so many layers and Easter eggs, and like I've said, I've made the joke before of, the moment the movie drops, you'll have here's the 96 things you missed in the Super Mario movie, right? Here's the, and I think it's fantastic. I'm loving it.
If you guys play around on the
Luigi statement here, or the clip you played sounds like Charlie Day's audition tape. Right, he hadn't quite found his voice, and he's it's me. I'm not real, maybe. Yeah, I was that feels a little bit like an audition more than an actual.
It could be. And if it is, that's a great way to use an audition tape, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have gone to the website and played around with it, but there's little Easter eggs all over it. There's the Mario Brothers van, and right next to it is a manhole, and if you click that, you get a Bowser background poster. The certified super thing, you can click that and get it makes the mushroom sounds. One that's really weird though, and I don't know if you've seen this or played with it, is there's a button, a red button that's spinning around that says 24-hour or 24/7 emergency services, and when you click that, it plays a very strange sound. It's like distorted. It's very.
You know what it is? It's the flagpole in reverse. I think.
Yeah, but it just gets higher and higher. Yeah, I don't know what.
Oh.
It was kind of like, I was like, is that a ghost in the machine? Is that, but one thing I want to notice, wanted to point out at the bottom of the page, we had gotten a casting, name of Spike in the cast, right? And you can see down here in the testimonials, Spike is cool is one of the guys who has left testimonial 1 star out of 5. And his appearance is the character from Wrecking Crew. Pretty cool. So it's just like, I love how they're doing that. I was thinking as I was listening to, the first time I was like, I'm going to call it Sure. Have you guys ever, you've probably heard of a band called They Might Be Giants. Have you ever heard of them? Back when they were, and I think they still did it for a while after they kind of blew up and got famous. They used to do a thing called Dial a Song, where you would call this number and it would, you could listen to like maybe a song they were working on, or like a song they weren't going to release, but they would play it over the phone for a fee. And that's how they made extra money. Like back before the internet, back before Napster, which Napster wouldn't have made them any money, I guess. But back before social media and online promotion, they were promoting themselves through a phone number, and it blew up. It was huge, and it kind of gave me those same vibes. For me, watching this 30-second commercial, I think we're in good hands. It was very comforting to me.
I agree. The thing that I was actually kind of shocked about as I was on that website is I was sort of shocked there wasn't a sign in on My Nintendo, some kind of association connection. And then it's and you collect 5 coins or something like that, or you can now redeem for a Super Mario Brothers plumbing lanyard or something. It just felt like there was an opportunity to kind of connect a little bit more on some of those promotional opportunities. So, but other than that, I think it's great.
Yeah. There's lots of little things to click around here on the site. So go check that out. It's smbplumbing.com. I actually feel like we'll probably see some more stuff like this, maybe before the movie drops. It's just leaning, they could have just made a site where they just threw it up there, right? Here's some stills from the movie. Here's this, here's that, right? And instead, what we ended up getting was this really cool leaning into their background, right? And it makes me confident. I think we're going to see some of that background and some of that stuff as we, as the movie opens. It's not just going to be like him popping out of a pipe in the Mushroom Kingdom and being like, "Oh, hey, I'm a Mario. Look at me."
Right.
So not Mario 64.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess they could do that. I mean, there's precedent for it, right? So I don't know. It makes me want April to get here very, very soon. And it will be very soon. I mean, we're about almost a month and a half out at this point. So, and I'm kind of at the point where I want to go dark and not spoil anything for myself, hopefully.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the only thing I feel like they've shown a little too much. I wish I didn't know there was Mario Kart stuff. There's things I wish I didn't see. So yeah, I don't want to see any more trailers or anything. I've seen plenty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that the Mario fans, the Nintendo fans, everybody else, at this point, we're convinced. All they need to do for the next little bit is show funny little clips and get everybody else on board. And that's probably what it'll be. It'll probably be little 30-second TV spots, if that, moving forward. And because I do not think that in March it's just going to be it'll be word of mouth. I think 2 to 3 weeks leading up to the movie, it's going to be all out blitz. It's, Well, let's talk about this other little bit of news that was reported this week over I'm pulling this article from mynintendonews.com. And this is from a conversation that Shantaro Furukawa had with investors that the quote comes from this: "It will not be easy to maintain hardware sales at the same pace that we have in the past as Switch enters the 7th year." And Justin, I regret that you were not here last week to talk about all of the delicious business news as well as the direct. And so I'm going to throw this directly to you. What do you think about this? I mean, we've seen the forecast go down. It's like it was 21, then it's 19, now it's 18 or whatever, maybe 17.
I think those are exactly the numbers.
So what do you think? I mean, are we seeing is like, I guess what I'm wanting to get from you is this or the lead-in question I was asked is this the inevitable, it's been 7 years, it's time to do this, or is it something else?
Yeah, no, I think this is a statement of we have been at pace, we have been doing amazing, but this is not a sustainableness, right? Like, we have to come to a reality that things are beginning to go on the downward turn. The other reason that things are starting to go on a downward turn, if we remember, PlayStation 5s are now becoming much more accessible, right? Where previously in other seasons, when those were not accessible, maybe those are the holiday gifts, maybe those are the birthday gifts, right? So that may have helped some of those sales move forward. We also have to realize, and I think this is sort of the reality that Nintendo is finding himself into, and a little bit of the conversation that was happening the last 2 weeks is the conversation around Nintendo has no more big games past Breath of the Wild. And I think when we looked at the Direct that just recently occurred, they're right? Breath of the Wild, as we know it right now, is the flagpole, right? That is it. They do not show anything after that would make significant reasons for someone to potentially go out and buy a new Switch or buy a platform to be able to move forward with it. You also have to recognize that they have kind of reached max saturation in regards to how they see the Nintendo Switch. A few investor calls ago, our initial approach was one per household, right? Now it's one per person in the household. That transition to that. And then they have cases of it is several per person in a household, right? Because you have these collector's editions. So they've kind of probably reached a little bit of max saturation. Now, I do agree with Breath of the Wild coming out, we're going to see that spike. We're going to see that come up, right? Everybody's like, now is the time to get into it. But we're going to see that spike. And then afterwards, probably it's going to start going down a little bit. We don't have Nintendo has not told us a compelling reason to believe that they have anything like truly AAA flagpole, like console selling games after Breath of the Wild. Now they may, but they haven't communicated that. The other problem is they are not owning the messaging around it's the end of a cycle. A lot of rumors, Bloomberg's reporting, IGN's reporting, all of these like pieces of media. So if you were like, oh, I'm going to buy the Switch, I'm excited, and then someone's like, oh, actually, I just read an article that maybe this is the last year of the Switch. I'm going to step back. I'm going to wait. I'm going to save my money for Switch 2.0, whatever it is, or the successor. So media communication, kind of rumor milling is also causing them to have to readjust those numbers because people are not putting their dollars down. The other part of it also is you got to remember, we're still in a little bit of a recession. Money is still tight. So finances and where we're spending them has to be more strategic. So these luxury ideas or gifts may not be occurring in the same way as well.
I think it's really smart of you to pinpoint the challenge of what's next and how they, the saturation point, I think is the term that you used there, because if you go on and read the actual like block text of his quote, that this part about not easy to maintain the same pace is couched in, he concludes with this, and this is the final statement. He says, "For this reason, our new challenge for the 7th year is finding ways to encourage users who are considering new purchases, replacement purchases, and additional purchases to pick up a Nintendo Switch." Where the issue with that comes in is if Tears of the Kingdom is that big tentpole game for, hey, this is it, guys, this is the final hoorah for the Switch from Nintendo, then they're not going to meet that goal for the 7th year. They're not going to reach that challenge, because what I hear them saying is we're going to have to recalibrate and figure out something to do with the back half of 2023.
Yeah, and
am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. And again, I mean, we saw the direct, we saw some peaks, right? I think the furthest we've seen out now is end of July with Pikmin 4, right? I'm sorry, Pikmin fans. There are some of you out there. If you haven't bought a Switch by now, you're probably not like, I was holding out for Pikmin 4. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's probably
holding out for that special edition.
That Venn diagram of overlap is real low. All right. Now, that being said, I think that rumored idea of, is there a tie-in game? Is there a Mario? Is the Mario Odyssey 2, Galaxy 3, Super Mario movie video game, is that sitting in that October pocket or November pocket? If that is, that's another boost, right? And that could really bring them through. But what they're showing, and Nintendo only shows 6 months of their cards, right, does not give a compelling reason to believe that there is something beyond that horizon. And so that is a little bit of calibration. Where they're recalibrating right now is, let me tell you more value for why you need to have Nintendo Switch Online, right? Let me tell you more about some more of our legacy titles. Let me tell you why Splatoon has DLC. Like, it's the microtransaction-y component of it. So I may not be selling the base hardware, but I need to really entice you with a catalog that we have of software, plus some microtransactions of DLC, subscription models. That's going to continue. They're kind of like, as software goes down, hardware goes down, software sales need to go up in these areas and kind of level set that. So I think that's really the where they're sitting at as well.
Yeah. Philip, I want to ask you just maybe this is a real personal question, but here it is. How many Switches does the Summers household own?
We share one, and it's brutal.
Okay.
Can I add a few thoughts?
Of course.
Sure, absolutely.
The one thing they haven't done with the Switch yet, which kind of blows my mind, is, especially 7 years in, right? We haven't hit that budget phase that they always go through, right? So we haven't had that that somehow there's never been a price cut. In fact, there's been a price increase, which is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then they've never done that slate of titles where they re-release everything, repackage it. They have the cheap, it's a lower price or whatever. Like, so it's just crazy to me that they haven't done that yet.
Nintendo Selects.
Yeah, and like that to me would be that for me. Like, I would think that should be like a year-end strategy, right? You just want to capture those Christmas dollars, so you're just going to put out all your top games for $30. You get that, even if it's Switch Lights, even if you're just trying to get rid of those things, right? Just knock the price down on those. I feel like that's your strategy to kind of just get through this year, and then introduce that new hardware, whatever it is.
I think that's a great point, right? I think it's so interesting because I think Nintendo is feeling like a little bit of like that we're in the dominant position, right? And they're also a company that is so apprehensive for IP deterioration. Right, like they never price cut. Like, I was talking to somebody recently, like, oh, I can get like Super Mario. They were saying, oh, I think I'm picking up a Switch. I can get Mario for like $30. I was like, what Mario are you getting for $30?
Yep.
I was like, you're not 30% off. Maybe that might be good, and that's not even like Odyssey. That is Super Mario, Wii Deluxe things. And so I wonder if I wonder if their strategy or what they're doing more and more is like, listen. We know we really even more now are doubling down with the value of our IP, right? Here's our movie. Here's our theme park. We are not a budget IP. We are not a budget brand. So by the way, you want to play with us, you gotta pay the dollars.
Yep. And the Zelda price goes into that thought too, right? It's a premium product.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting thing to see. And I know, Marty, you had quite the soapbox about this last week, right? But maybe that's where Nintendo's now saying we believe Tears of the Kingdom is a premium product, right? Does that mean that Metroid Prime 4 is a premium product? No, maybe it's just a regular product, right? And because I mean, even when you looked at them releasing Metroid Prime, that was $50 in Canada. I think it was $40 in the US, right? Like So they could have gone 60. They didn't,
Yeah.
right? So they're starting to play with a little bit of this, like trying to find a number that I think works for them. But I sort of love this idea that there may be tiers. Now, I'd like to pay less for everything, as we all do, right? But we understand costs of everything go up, right? So it's got to be paid somewhere. But I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
The announcements I'm looking forward to next are, in like June Summer Direct, knowing what are they planning on doing in November, and the fiscal year end numbers and next fiscal year projections that'll be out like the first week in May.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see Nintendo recalibrating, right, in regards to that.
Those will be a very telling about what we should expect to see next.
Yeah.
As we think about this issue, like my mind keeps getting drawn back to you brought up Zelda as a premium product, right? Do you think that we're going to see this? Justin, you weren't on last week for us to talk about this. Do you think that we are going to see that OLED, the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom OLED?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, it the leaks for it looked pretty legitimate.
I think that they have, their model before is we want multiple Switches for the same user, right? And we also recognize that when we have put out special editions, they do well, right? We know there's a sale of them. We know people get them. There's a certain collection of people who want them. This is the same idea, the same reason why, the 3DS had a Metroid one in purple and all these things, right? Because it's a collector's market. When they put the Switch out with Breath of the Wild, you got to remember, they really didn't know what would happen to the Switch, right? They just came off of getting the shit kicked out of them for the Wii U. They weren't making sales. And they're like, we're putting out this new idea. We really don't know how it's going to go. So why am I going to risk making additional SKUs? I'm going to make one SKU. And these Joy-Cons are different colors, right? We'll see what happens. You then have a juggernaut where you're at the end of the life cycle. And by the way, you want a little bit of an extra bump in hardware sales? Take one of your hottest IPs, make a special edition OLED. Guess what? Yeah, it's gonna sell. I'd be shocked if they don't have it, right? I'd also be shocked if they don't have a special special Pro controller that they're putting out with it. They are gonna sticker label Tears of the Kingdom on whatever they can to make more, right? They may have special Joy-Cons. They're gonna have an OLED. They're gonna have a Switch Pro controller. They're gonna have the amiibos, right? Like so that when you walk in to buy Tears of the Kingdom, you are buying all of these things because that bumps up those sales, right? That also gets rid of old stock they have sitting back there, right? How many of those old black Pro controllers they have sitting from when they originally ran the thing? They're like, go put a paint job on them, right? There we go. Now you're buying them, right? Like, folks, it's a fire sale
for some people. That's like a $600 day. That day will be because they're going to buy a Switch. They're going to buy the collector's edition. They're going to buy like you said, the amiibo, whatever kind of, if there's like some kind of guide tie-in or something.
I don't know which site broke it first, but there is evidence that the Zelda OLED may be legit. Because when we first saw it a few months ago, there was like, oh, that could be a mock-up. We don't know, but one of the new glyphs that we've never seen before. Yeah. The same glyph appears in the Zelda Collector's Edition art.
Nice. Okay. I think we're going to get a dedicated Tears of the Kingdom Nintendo Direct. Like it'll be like we have a 15-minute tight direct, right? We're going to tell you a little bit more about the game, show you a little bit more, another trailer, maybe show a little bit of gameplay, and at the end of it, and also releasing that day are all of these things. Right? And
to pre-order.
I think to pre-order as well. So I think that's the approach they're going to take for it. Also, funny for those of you that watch the show live, I recognize that I swore, and then you can see Jesse like turn away and grab a pen and paper and start writing down the timestamp. Bless you, Jesse. I apologize.
He catches them. He's good.
Then of course this pen decided to not want to write, so I had to find a different pen.
Yeah, but you're right, Phil. Like Philip, it's like a 600 day for some. Right. Yeah. It was funny. Tim, you had asked me to go see if I can get you the deluxe edition up here because I went into GameStop. the day after the direct, and I ordered just a regular edition. I don't want the deluxe one. I'm like, I'm not doing this, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, do you want the deluxe one or the regular one? I was like, I'll just get the regular one. It's fine. Tim, you and I talked that night. The next day, you're like, you said you can't find one. I was like, Tim, I'll call and I'll pre-order for you, right? Because I had literally been in, the day before in the evening. I called them that morning. They're like, nope, we're done. I was like, wow. You're kidding me. He's like, I was in yesterday talking to Frank. He's like, I'm Frank. I know. He's like, we're done with them. I was like, holy snap. He's like, you should have got it then. I was like, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, at least you can walk into a store and pre-order one. Down here it just like pops up randomly on GameStop and Walmart and Best Buy, and we fight for them for the few seconds, the few fleeting seconds we have.
This is where I come in and start complaining. So I tweeted this and tried to say something on my little soapbox, and I am fed up with this. I'm sure everybody's hit a point where they've been fed up with it at their own juncture. But this was my juncture, because when you go and try to pre-order something that you are into and you want to use, I'm not trying to flip it. I want to use it. I want to have it because I really enjoy Zelda games, and I can't get it, but I can go to eBay and find 377 people. And I'm trying to hold back saying some words that Jesse would have to do this to. But when you go find those people on there trying to sell it $100 over cost on there, that is very frustrating for someone like me to have to, because I was frustrated when I couldn't get the Divine Edition for Fire Emblem. I was trying to get that and I couldn't get that. There needs to be something changed, and nothing's happening.
Go ahead, Phil.
Did that fire? So what I was going to say, and I wonder if it happened with Fire Emblem as well, because I was going kind of crazy for the special Metroid Dread one, because that was coming and going, right? And then it was ridiculous, like you're saying. But then I feel like after the game came out, it was just like available. So did that happen with Fire Emblem, where it's like, a week later now? Oh, okay, all right.
Nope, they haven't. I kept an eye on it and didn't see where I could get it off the Nintendo site, and I didn't see anywhere in stores where I could get it either. The Fire Emblem Engage Divine Edition.
The bad thing about this is it used to be mostly a Nintendo problem, right? Like you could like it was easier to pre-order things for other consoles. Maybe it would still sell out pretty quickly, but it wasn't like that, for PlayStation or whatever, barring the 5 and Xbox Series X for a while. But it's all the others. I mean, they did a pre-order for this Hogwarts Legacy PS5 controller. I don't know if you saw it. It's gorgeous. It's like black with gold, and Hogwarts is like on the touchpad and everything. And it sold out in 1 second. Pre-orders, like the controller doesn't even come out until the 28th of February. And it like literally, even in direct, like the PlayStation Direct store, it sold out that quick. I'm like, how many did you make? Like, did you make 4 of these?
What I don't understand is why companies can't just do the open pre-order and say, you want one, come put in your pre-order, pay for it. Like did with the Steam Deck and all those other types of things. Other products have done that. Yes. Where you come in, you're in waves, and then you put in a pre-order, you're guaranteed to get one. Maybe not day one, but you'll get one because you want one. You put in the money. Why can't all companies do that? Why do it this way? Especially when it says it's a collector's edition, not limited edition. So it's frustrating.
the capitalist part of me wants to say supply and demand economics, right? Yes. Like I get it.
Yep.
But to me, it's
frustrating.
If I'm a company and I got people who want my product, then here, let me open up the pre-order so you can order more.
Yeah. The problem with the thing, especially like bone it, like the collector's edition stuff, is there is also the huge risk that you got to remember, like once you have created that and built that SKU or whatever it is, like if that doesn't move, that's really not moving, right? And your vested cost is different. Whereas opposed to like a cart, like if you put it in a case there is some risk. But when you're talking about mass production of pins, specialty books, blah blah, there is a sunk cost.
Well,
I think Nintendo's like, no, I don't know if we're gonna sell, so we'll just make 3 of them. Right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't need to mass produce it. Do an open pre-order so you know how many to make.
But here's another thought though. Do you really want to be in like a bucket for some special edition game and you get it like a year later, like a analog pocket? Like
we do that with limited edition.
I know, but I feel like it's a different thing, right? Like,
well, and then there's also the I forget what the company name is, but the one where you can go buy the newer Game Boy or
the analog pocket. Yeah, that's
analog
what I did.
pocket.
So I bought that thing
or
like
the Steam Deck.
Yeah, so like I was in a bucket for that, and I didn't get it until a year later.
Yeah, if you're lucky, if you really lucky and you got into it wave 1, then you got it right away, or you just waited until you fell in the other buckets, like Jesse mentioned the Playdate.
Yeah.
So like I was in a later bucket, but I finally got it and I have it and I'm happy. I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
Tim and I talked last week about like Xenoblade 3 Collector's Edition. They shipped the game out at launch and then shipped the other goodies out later.
Yeah, and that model I kind of like too. It's so like,
that
okay,
would be something.
Well, yeah, you can still have the game at launch.
Yeah, Phil, what were you saying before?
I think I lost my train of thought, but I was going to say, with that pocket, like I had to wait a year, and it's for me that's like a different type of thing. Like if I had to wait like a year to play the Zelda game, like say, I don't want to buy the digital copy because I just spent $200 on this special. Like I really want to wait a year to play that game because I'm waiting for my goodies to come in. It's like a different kind of.
That's where I think what Jesse was talking about would work the best, where send me the physical copy of the game and then the collector's content send me when you've manufactured it and can send it to me.
But like a boutique company like Playdate and the Analog guys and even just Limited Run, that's their specialty. That's their thing. Nintendo's just retail. They're not gonna ship you out your special goodies a year later. It's a different ball game, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, and honestly, at the end of the day, they have your dollars no matter what, right? Yeah. It does, and for them, it's like if you don't get the $130 edition, well, we've got plenty of the $70 edition, right? Yeah. You can pick that up.
Yep.
We've seen them do that with systems. We've seen them do it with Amiibo. We've seen them do it with pretty much everything that's come out since mid Wii U time period, right? I mean, anything, if you don't rush to GameStop and hope you manage to hit the roll of the die where the pre-orders open, you're out of luck, right? It's just not. And guys, I'm gonna tell you, for people like me, and I'm playing the smallest violin, people probably don't care, but for people like me who live in rural areas where like the only retail store we have in our town that sells video games is Walmart, you're never gonna see any of this stuff. Never. Like Walmart gets maybe one special edition of each console and it's gone as soon as the doors open, if it even makes it there, right? They don't do pre-orders. Yes. They don't even know whatever. Like,
so Hambone Johnny says, how far in advance was the Splatoon edition announced? And I found it and I think it says 2 months in advance. So if there is a special edition announced for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, it will probably be, it'll be about now. Oh, no, when it would be, so is May, sorry. So that would be mid-March.
But here's the other thought too. This is what they want us to do. They want us to want this thing, there's like that element of like, I got to get this thing right now, right? Because if I can just pre-order it, I know I get it like a year later, then, where's that desire where like, I have to have the thing. So, I mean, we're doing exactly what they want us to do. And and they're going to make tons of money.
I guess the biggest thing is when the Switch first came out and also the Breath of the Wild options you could get, I got the Championship Edition or Champion Edition. I was able to pre-order that. And it felt like it was easier.
Well, that's when no one cared.
Yeah, no one cared at that time.
We were
Exactly. No one cared at the time.
Nobody gave a crap, right?
Except for the people who do want that game,
Yeah,
so want that collector's edition or whatever. So
absolutely.
Now people know they can make a buck off of it, so they go and use their bots or whatever to get their copies and then flip it. And that's the frustrating part.
Well, this topic definitely went to a different place than Nintendo maintaining sales, but it'll be interesting to see once Tears of the Kingdom hits May, and then we get hopefully some kind of communication from them in June, what's next or what they've got lined up for White. Guys, let's be honest. We're probably on the Switch. This is not Nintendo is doomed or anything like that, so don't hear that. But the Switch is on its deathbed. Let's just now, how long will it stay on the deathbed? I don't know, because look at 3DS.
Yeah, I was gonna say deathbed is here's the deal. When the new one comes out, this system is not dropping dead. Mm-hmm. This system has a tail on it, right? For a while. You also have to remember that there is a whole consumer base that is not about buying the brand new spanky thing. Right? Mm-hmm. This is where Phil's commentary before of now it gets its price cut. Right now it's the select edition.
And that's not what I was meaning. What I was meaning was basically for the person like us, the Nintendo super fan, the podcast host, whatever it is, it's going to be dead. And we're going to move on to the next thing. And now I'm going to keep my Switch because God knows what they're going to do with the online and all the games I've got digitally or whatever. I'm not letting go of it, just like I didn't let go of my 3DS. But the thing is that if you want to call it end of life, if you want to call it deathbed, or you want to call it whatever, maybe that wasn't the greatest term when I said that, but we have to admit we're probably in the twilight years of the Switch. How about that?
Sure.
And
we're definitely making sure that everyone's got their stuff in order, right? And right. So we're probably starting to narrow it down. What's next in the docket, Marty?
Yeah. Well, it's time for us to take a break for our sponsors over at Manscaped.
Support Nintendo Dads is brought to you by Manscaped. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, Manscaped is now selling beard products. That's right. They are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedge Pro Kit allows you to shape your signature beard look, just like me. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using the code NINDADS, NINDADS, for 20% off and free shipping. That code again, NINDADS, NINDADS, for 20% off and free shipping. Big thanks to Manscaped for their continued support throughout the show. Folks, obviously I don't have a beard, but let me tell you, even just using the Beard Hedge Pro, just to do my shaving down the stubble every single couple of days, it is the best trim I have ever had in regards to my actual beard. I thoroughly enjoy it and wish I was manly enough to grow an actual sexy beard like everybody else on this. But I love the product. Just like all the fantastic products that Manscaped has, this is quality at its best, and you will absolutely 100% love it. One of the best parts about the shaver, also waterproof, so you can use it in the shower if you need to, much like the Lawnmower 4.0 and several other products. Big thanks to Manscaped again for their continued support. Code NINDADS, NINDADS, for 20% off and free shipping. Back to you.
Well, guys, what we're going to do here right now for the rest of the show, or for a good part of the show, is turn on the guest spotlight and shine it right over on our guest, Philip Summers. If you don't know who Philip is, he has been around the community for a while. And I first encountered Philip as he was producing these absolutely gorgeous hand-drawn guides for Zelda, for Metroid, Contra, just absolutely blew me away. Like I was always one, like in my youth, like playing. I remember getting there was a guidebook that Nintendo sold back in the NES days, how to beat Super Mario Brothers and Zelda tips and tricks. And it reminded me a lot of those books, right? Like it just was packed with art and little tidbits and everything. since that time, of course, there's been some challenges to that, and you can get into that as much as you want to. But Philip has shifted now to magazine style art and things like that, which is really cool as well. Jesse had an example earlier, and I think you're on your third issue of that. Is that correct?
Yep, the third one.
And so let's Tim, why don't you dive in here, and what we'll do first is Philip, why don't you just tell our folks who you are, kind of the journey that led you to maybe the hand-drawn guides, and then now to what you're doing. And then we've got some questions for you, and we've got some questions for our community as well.
Cool. Yeah. Well, first, thank you for all the kind words. It's awesome that you guys were like so into some of this stuff that I produced. The Zelda thing's crazy. Like, I still have people asking me for physical books of that. I would say multiple times a week. I'll get an email. People are just always looking for it. And then it kind of bubbled up again this week. And I made this post, and I had I'm doing like a giveaway with one of my proof copy of it. It's not even like, doesn't even have the cover or anything. And it's kind of beat up. Yeah. And I was like,
I literally got a notification of that tweet like 15 minutes ago on my phone.
Oh, really? Yeah. And then I made that, it's like blowing up. And it's kind of crazy, just the momentum that book has. It's wild. I wish I could still produce it, but is what it is. But anyway, yeah. So a quick summary. I don't want to bore you guys with like a long summary here. I'll just try and be fast. But yeah, I kind of stumbled into this game guides thing. For me, it just started as like a project where I work on my computer all day, and I wanted to do something where I could just kind of like disconnect and just draw. And I was thinking about like all video game maps. And then I just had this idea, like maybe I'll make like a little art book. I didn't even consider it really much of a strategy guide. It was more of just like a visual representation of the game. So I picked Contra because it's nice and short. And I love that game. And it was kind of low on tips when I did it. I threw a couple of tips in there or whatever, but that was not the focus. And then like people kind of got into that. So I did it again with Ninja Gaiden, and that game actually is kind of hard. Well, they're both hard, but like that one's really hard. I tried to come up with tips for that, but like there's only so much you can, that game is just, you kind of have to memorize that game. There's not really much you can tell people, I feel, unless they're like watching a video and they know exactly how to play it. But Zelda, I think, is where it really kind of became a real strategy guide. So that came out. I made this narrative storybook style guide. It did great. I did Metroid next. Well, the thing with the Zelda guide that I didn't expect was how many people used it to actually play the game, and like for their first time. I had people like streaming it on Twitch, and they had their guide on on part of the screen, and that's how they were playing the game. And that I thought was like one of the coolest features of it. Like I didn't expect that. So when I thought about the next book, which I did Metroid, I had that same thought where I was like, I want people to actually play the game. So that was why I chose Metroid, because I feel like the first one is not really looked upon. I don't want to say too far. It's a classic, right? But like people acknowledge that it's a classic, but they're like, well, it's not that good. I think it's great. So
it's a classic, and it's a tough one, just like those other games too, because of we're not used to having those things we have now in Metroid games in when you go back to that one.
Like
if you started off playing it, then you're fine. Yes. Now number one.
Like I could imagine being 8 years old right now and someone hands me Metroid. I'm not playing that game, right? But I have a different look at it. So yeah, that was my thought with Metroid, was just like, it'd be cool if I get more people to play Metroid. They'll have this guide. Since that one was never produced as an actual book, that didn't quite happen like it did with Zelda. But whatever. So at that point, I did this Kickstarter campaign to actually produce all these books. The story's taking longer than I thought. That got shut down. I shut down for a little while. I did some side things. I worked with Premium Edition for Cathedral, like mini guide that comes in the actual game. Kind of like the old Dragon Warrior book that would have been in the Dragon Warrior box. And then I did like a fold out poster, Nintendo Power style, for Witch and Wiz. It's a homebrew NES game, and Limited Run published that. And so that's like a poster where it's like this, it has like a couple of tips on, different, it's a puzzle game, all the different rooms. It's actually a really cool game. So cool. I did those. And then I took time off, and I've always had this idea, even when I was doing the guides, of doing like a periodical type thing that's real short. Even like, I just wanted it to be like 4 pages, like you just open it up like a pamphlet. And then I decided, well, maybe I can kind of pursue that and make it a little more substantial. And I could do like a bi-monthly thing, and let's see how that goes. So I started a Patreon, and that's where we are now. So now I make a 8-page newsletter called Hand Drawn Gaming. And it's in the spirit of those guides I just discussed, but it's a little more, feels more like a Nintendo Power. So, I read Nintendo Power. This is going to sound so stupid. I read Nintendo Power.
Like the old Nintendo Fun Club.
Yeah, the very first ones, yes.
Yeah. So, right, the actual thing, the actual, like, even the size of it, the page count and all that, that's definitely has that Fun Club feel, like, intentionally. I know it's going to sound so stupid, but I read Nintendo Power like every morning. I've been buying them, and it's like, I said to my wife, I was like, it's like the simplest thing I can read to like get my brain going. Like I don't even know what I read. Sometimes I close it, I'll drink my coffee. Sometimes I close it, I'm like, I don't even know what I read about some football game I don't even care about, right? Like, but I'm just like reading them. And what I've come to find is that actually, like, most, especially the NES era, especially, they're all almost like 6-8 page features, and they cover almost the entire game. They usually just leave out like the final stage, or they don't show you the final boss, but they generally cover like the whole game. So that was where, as I was reading those, I thought I can pretty much fit like entire games into these 8-page things. So that's kind of like the other thing, where it's like, it's almost like you're getting like a feature from Nintendo Power every other month.
These are absolutely brilliant.
Oh, thanks.
And I apologize, Philip. I had, it's funny. I had seen your tweet this morning about that, the original book. And we just retweeted as well. And I was like, I should take a look at this. And I hadn't really deep dived the website before and really looked at these, but these are like absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
I've just gone through the Metroid and the Zelda one. Here's what I would say. I can see why folks want these. And I can also see why Nintendo probably stopped.
Yeah.
Because that knowing Nintendo, right? But I do love, you're like, this book is not affiliated with Nintendo, right? Like you legally say that. But yeah, these are just amazing.
Thank you.
So did any of these actually get produced?
Zelda's,
the Zelda ones actually got produced and out the door, hey? Because these are amazing.
Yeah, I made about, I'd say, close to 2,000 of them
before the big Nintendo ninjas showed up.
Yeah. So when it came out, I did 100 of them, and I didn't expect to move them at all, because I did a really low run of Ninja Gaiden, because this whole thing like funded itself, which is pretty cool. They were all in just PDFs at first. Contrary to Ninja Gaiden were just PDFs, and they were pay what you want. So I used the funds that I got from Pay What You Want to do this really small run of just Ninja Gaiden. I think I did 75 of them, maybe not even. And a whole bunch of them sold real quick, and then it just stopped. And then I was stuck with like 30 of them. And then I did eventually move them, but it was like a lot of, hey, this thing's available, come get it, and then eventually I got rid of them. So when I did Zelda, I mean, I know more people were into it, but I still was kind of like, and I think I overkilled it. So what I did was I made, I actually ran off, I think 120 of them, and I had 100 for sale. And I had Xeon from Nintendo Life. He reached out to me and he was like, hey, I'm watching this thing. I'd love to like cover this book. And this was like a really huge part of it. And I said, look, I can get you a copy early, and you can make this video. And then that was huge. So I sent it to him, and I had a couple other people reach out to me too. A couple of people from IGN, and I just bombed these people like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the book came out. And I just wanted to, I just wanted to move 100 books. And that was all I wanted to do. And I think it was just, I think bombing all those people with those promo ones, just like, it just overdid it. Right. And then, I sold them all in less than a minute on the site. They just disappeared. And I was like, holy crap. And then that whole day, it was just people, I had people angry. They're like, why would you send out all these preview copies if you only had 100 of these? And I was like, well, I didn't expect, like, I just thought you guys were going to download a PDF. I didn't think like everybody would want this actual book.
Yeah.
So then I did pre-orders for like 200 the next day. They were gone in an instant because I'm just using the money to fund it. Right. It's like, well, now I have money to print 200. So then once I had that, I was like, well, now I got money to print 500. And then they sold in like 45 minutes. And then I sat it out and I did like a big Christmas rush. Zelda came out in June. So those prints happened throughout the summer. And then I did like a big thing for Thanksgiving where I did 1,200 Zeldas, I think, and 200 Ninja Gaiden and Contra, or maybe it was like 1,000 Zeldas, I forget. And then I took Contra and Ninja Gaiden, I put them together and I just did a low run of those too, 200 of those, and they all blew out like in less than a week. So there was some momentum on it, that's for sure.
So, and maybe you can't share all of it, right? Momentum's going well, right? You're like, man, this is awesome. Yeah. And then I just imagine this like knock on the door, right? And all you open the door and all you hear is, please understand. Yeah. Right. And so can you share a little bit about what happened there? And maybe, I mean, we've had the Nintendo ninjas pull some of our stuff before, right? We've come up with that line and we border that every once in a while. This is kind of a full blown, let's go across that line. Right?
So Nintendo has gotten you guys before?
Yeah, we had some
merchandise.
Some merchandise that got pulled. Yep.
Because it had the word Nintendo on it. Like, what was the thing that got it?
Well, even just the mushroom thing.
Really?
Yeah. With no words, still modified to make it our own, but still since
that don't work.
Yeah. No, it don't work at all.
No. So
right, as we found.
I think I probably could have got away with it longer if I didn't go the Kickstarter route, right? So that's what did it. If I was just doing a couple hundred here and there, and the thing with Zelda was after that big push, and I didn't print anymore, and I moved on to Metroid because that was like a whole other like job almost, was just shipping and fulfilling orders and customer service, and I just needed to move on. So then I focused on Metroid for basically the beginning of that year up through the summer again. So a year later, I had a whole new book. And that was when I did the Kickstarter. I didn't print any Metroids. I wanted to do the Kickstarter to just like offer everything in like a hardcover. I wanted to make them real nice and like fancy because they were just paperbacks that I kind of cobbled together.
Yeah. I was so all in on that one.
on the Kickstarter, yeah.
Yes,
and then,
I was so all in on that one. I mean, it was Metroid after all. So
I know. Yeah, you love Metroid. I know. So like, I wish I had like print. I wish I did this like a low run of 100 and the Kickstarter, whatever. But anyway,
it is what it is.
So you end up putting out a Kickstarter, right? You've done your promo video, you've posted it.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then how did were you kind of halfway to funding, or was it going well? Dude. And then you got the call, or what was that story like?
It was so, I mean, I was kind of crapping my pants the whole time because it blew up. And I mean, we were over $300,000.
Wow.
And
you were fully funded pretty quickly, weren't you?
Oh yeah, we were funded, and we were funded like almost immediately. We had stretch goals, and the stretch goals were done in like an hour. Like it was ridiculous. And then we came up with more stretch goals halfway through. I worked with a guy named David Cumbo. He did a ukulele book. That guy is like the Kickstarter like genius. He's like the wizard. He was the guy that was getting everything going. When we blew through the stretch goals, he was just like, here's what we got to do. We got to do this, this, and that. We launched it on this day. and it's going to do even better. And I was like, are you sure? And then it worked, right? Like everything he said, I was like, oh my God, this guy, like,
it's a Kickstarter whisperer.
Yeah, like, this guy knows how to do this. So, so anyway, yeah, it was literally the day before funding was going to go, and I got the email saying, hey, we contacted. So it was a Saturday, and they said, hey, we contacted Kickstarter. We're going to shut this thing down. And then I said, well, Kickstarter's not going to get back to you until like Monday, the earliest. And this campaign ends tomorrow. Like, do you want me to pull the plug on this? And they were like, yes. So I immediately canceled the Kickstarter. I pulled it down. And like, it's not funny, but like the night before I was actually having like a drink with my sister, my brother-in-law, and we were talking about it. And I was like, look, I said, this thing could end tomorrow. Like, I'm still, because everybody's just like, oh my God, I can't believe you got all this stuff. This is like, to them, it was like I was becoming like, I was getting all this money, right? Like, it's like unbelievable. And for me, it was just like, well, no, like this isn't real yet. This is not real until people actually have a book in their hand, right?
Right.
So I just said this could end tomorrow, and it did. It ended the next day.
That was the end of it, eh?
Yeah. And that was that sucked.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, it did lead you down a different path, obviously, with the magazines. Yeah. So after you came out with the magazine thing and through Patreon and stuff like that, it felt I guess speaking as a fan, it felt like a relief. Like, this is awesome. I'm going to get another way I can get Phil's stuff. So your creative stuff is out there and it's printable and all that kind of like, because everybody wanted physical stuff, right?
Yeah.
So after going 3 issues down and you're now working on your 4th, probably, or getting ready to.
Oh yeah.
What have you learned over the last 3 issues? What have you learned from going from the start of this into now your 4th issue?
I learned that I'm really glad I made it every other month, because it's already starting to catch up. So one of the things that, like, a question I keep getting, it's not really answering your question directly, but I guess I'll
go for it.
People are just like, well, why do you think you can get away with this? So my spin with this, based on things I've learned, is that I'm treating it like a magazine. I'm calling it a newsletter. I'm not calling it a guide. So I dropped the guides. Guide is like that's like a thing. They don't like guides, these companies. When you say a guide there and you're not like sanctioned to like make this thing,
you're not official.
They don't like that. So I don't call it a guide, and I do things to kind of make it like I have like the essay. That's like a thing I include to add like a personal kind of like a review type touch to it. So it's not just a straight up guide. So I'm doing these little tricks. I'm not using titles on any of the covers. I do say the name of the game in there, but so those are the things that I've done to where I think I can get away with it, right? Because I mean, look at any of these other magazines, like Ninty Fresh, who I've been Lucas there has been great. He was a huge help with the Patreon.
Nice.
And but he puts out a magazine that has Nintendo characters on it every other month, and there's other people do too. Ninty Fresh and Switch Player, they all do it. So mine's just 8 pages.
Yep.
That's the only difference. So I think that's why I can pull this off. But anyway, things I've learned, there is such a big customer service portion to this that I didn't expect. Another thing I wanted to do was I wanted to keep this as cheap as possible. So I have like that $6 version where it literally just comes in the mail the way it is. Is that the one you guys get? You just get the one that comes.
That's what I get. Yeah, it's got the print, my name on it. It doesn't come in the bag and anything like that.
So that was how I like, to me. And I didn't look at it from a collector perspective. To me, I just thought I want this like affordable product that I can just kind of like put in the mail. People aren't even thinking about they're paying for it, right? They're just and it's this nice little surprise. Like they get the mail that day and they see the cover. Like there was a part where I thought about hiding the covers and not even like telling people what the next issue was going to be, because I wanted to have that. I wanted to have that element of like surprise, right? Like it's like, oh my God, I got the Mega Man issue. Like you don't realize it was coming. I realized that was terrible marketing. So you have to show, you got to sell something, right? You can't just sell blank. So so I didn't do that, but like that's the feeling that I wanted with it. But when that first wave went out, I was not expecting the like, dude, this thing came in bent, I want a new one. And I was just like, oh boy. And then I'm having a million messages where I'm just like, I'll send you a new one, but like I can't guarantee you this thing is not going to look worse. Like
right.
I don't know what to say. And then I got so much feedback where people were just not having it. So then it's at that point for me, it's just like, well, what am I going to like, what do I do here? Like, do I stick to my guns and just say, no, you're going to get this thing you're not happy with, cause they'll go away at that point. Right.
Yeah.
They're not going to stick around. So that was when I quickly pivoted to do the collector tier.
Which was smart. That was an awesome idea.
Oh, thank you. So, and it seems to be going well. That seems to have satisfied people, which is great.
Yes.
So, and one of the things was like, it's so much to ship all this stuff. And I had a feeling, well, I wanted to have a certain amount of subscribers to even make this thing worth doing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I blew over that amount that I wanted. So the printer prints and ships it for me. Like I didn't want to be involved in any of the shipping unless it was,
that's even better.
Right. Unless it was for like replacement copies. I didn't want anything to do with it. Just so I could keep working.
Mm-hmm.
So with the collector thing for now, because I have to hit like for them to ship it and make it worth it for them to ship it, I have to have like a certain amount of people to do that. Yeah. So I have not hit that number yet. So I've been packing and shipping all those myself.
Yeah. Do you have a percentage of how much more you got to go before you hit that number?
Not too much more, but the funny thing is like, maybe I'm like a control freak, but I almost don't want to give that portion of it up. Right. Like
I understand that.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
And then like, once I offered that too, like I wanted to have fun with it because now I'm just thinking, well, now it's packed. Like now I can do stuff with it now that it's in something. So that was where I came up with like the sticker idea and whatever other thing I come up with that I want to throw in there.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, now I can I can hide sketches in here and stuff too. So now I had this control over it that I didn't have. And I kind of like that. And I could still do that. I could still just say, I can just pull names or whatever, and then say, hey, I'm going to handle this amount of issues to give people the little extra special.
Oh,
thing,
that's
right?
cool. Yeah.
So I might still do that. Like,
I may have to switch to the collector's edition if you're doing that type of thing.
Yeah. So
slipping in some work. That's right. I remember you did a post. That's right. You were talking about something you slipped in.
Yeah. For the Double Dragon one.
Yeah.
They posted today. The guy got it. I gave the original sketch for the cover. Like, yes. I mean, I think it's pretty cool. I don't.
That is pretty cool.
So
that's pretty cool.
He's got it. I mean, that sketch that he has, I'd put it on a light box to do my final art. So like, that's the the cover.
Nice.
So I included that, and then I pulled aside like 5 of them, and the white shipping area. I just doodled on the white shipping areas just to have like an extra. I like to surprise people if I can, just to give them a little extra something. So
that's awesome.
That was
you ever?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, have you ever thought of the next steps? I'm sure you have, but the next steps, like if you get to a certain level or scalability, like adding other people who like to draw in on your book or something, allowing them to put in content or anything like that. Have you had those kind of thoughts?
Not yet. I wanted to see like where this would go. I think where it's at, it's kind of just there. Like it's stuck, right? I think it peaked as far. I mean, it's tough sell, right? Like it's an 8-page thing, and I know it's only $6, but I can see some people where they're just like, well, I don't want this 8-page thing for $6, right? Like, so it's kind of a hard sell.
But it so does harken back to that, like, go to your mailbox and open it up.
Yeah.
Is this the day my Nintendo Power shows up, or my gaming magazine, whatever it is? And oh my gosh, these are amazing, right? I think there's such value in
as someone who spent their childhood waiting on the porch for the mail truck to run about the time that Nintendo Power should have dropped. Look, I will just admit it. You just got yourself a new patron. I signed up
wow.
while you were,
All
you were
right.
talking.
All right.
So,
and I upgraded.
Thank you.
Well, and I was going to the sites. Look, I was going to the site trying to figure out, I was like, okay, how do I buy the individual issues? And then I realized I couldn't. So I was like, well, then I'll just get the next one then.
Nice.
And so you look, it's good quality stuff. I mean, I can't argue.
Well, going through the first couple issues, it's like what I expected, right? So you got your, little talking points, you got some breakdowns of the first one has got the weapons, and then you got your maps you drawn out, and you kind of do that with the next one. First one was Castlevania.
I'm a sucker for Castlevania too, so that sealed the deal, man.
All right.
And then the next one is I'm not familiar with this game, but
so this
I love
Gimmick.
that.
This is Gimmick. So this is what's also cool about the Patreon is like I have a subscriber base, right? So I can do a game. I can do a game like that. Like I wouldn't have been able to do that because the interest isn't there. You know what I mean?
And that's things like, if you, like you said, like if you would have gone out and said, hey, I'm going to do 100 books of this game, then nobody would have known about it or anything like that. But with the subscription, like me, I didn't know about this, but now I'm interested, because I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I want to check this out. But then what really interesting, you just switch things up. You did a comic book.
Yeah.
Which is really cool with the Double Dragon. So
and the next one's going to be different as well. Like I really want to, I don't want to get bored. I don't want it to just
want to have fun with it.
Yeah. I don't want it to just be 6 pages of maps, or 8 pages, it would be 6 every time. I don't want it to be, even I know Castlevania and Gimmick, they both covered the whole game and they're both maps, but I still did them differently. Like Castlevania is just that big spread. I crammed the whole game onto that big spread. And then Gimmick, it's more like a traditional Nintendo Power type feature. And then with Double Dragon, it's comic. The Mega Man one's going to be different, where it's more of a retrospective. So it's a little more writing, less tips, more of a focus just on different art. So that's the goal for that one.
Well, Marty, you're just in time for that one. Marty's the Mega Man man.
Sweet. All right.
I'm stoked.
Yeah, I see the Mega Man 2 behind you. I see the picture. So, yep. So I just want to try and keep them fresh,
Yes. That is awesome. I love that. Real quick, I got a question from the community for you too. Sure. It's from 16-Bit Nomad. I just got issue 3 in this week. Loving them so far. My question is, do you have plans to expand out to other systems in the future, like the SNES or Genesis? Personally, it would be awesome to see an issue devoted to the 16-bit wars with your artistic talent. Regardless, I'm glad to support your work and love every issue I've received so far.
I don't want to rule it out. I mean, I mainly just focus on the NES stuff because it's simpler, right? Like the games are just easier to kind of they're small. They're physically small. So that's kind of why I stick to that. But no, I would love to cover other stuff, and I probably will at some point. I mean, the Mega Man one, it covers every game, so they're already right there. It's more than just the NES stuff. I touch on all of them, all 11 mainline ones. So there's a little bit, not just
fantastic.
Yeah,
that is really cool. I can't wait to see Marty's face when he gets that one.
Can we make suggestions for the future?
Sure. What do you want?
So are you just sticking to purely Nintendo, or are you going to branch out maybe and do Sega or even TurboGrafx, since it's from that area or era?
I mean, I don't know if any. There's TurboGrafx stuff I'd be willing to do. I don't know. It's just whatever kind of comes to my mind. I will say the future, like the next few that I have in mind, they're all pretty much NES related. That's the
I mean, that's fine.
Thing, but no, I would love to cover. Like when I first came up with this idea, like I said, it was when I was doing the guides. I was playing all the Donkey Kong Country games, and I was just like, it would be really cool if I just had like this thing that just kind of like broke down the different Donkey Kong Country games. So, when I kind of conceived this idea, I wasn't just thinking of NES games.
You see how Justin just perked up there when you said Donkey Kong?
Yeah.
That was actually going to be something I was going to suggest.
Yeah.
So I was looking out for you, Justin, but I was just thinking, if you really want to roll the dice on this and you really want to see how far you can push it, you should do DuckTales. Because then you get the two-prong attack of Nintendo and Disney.
Yeah. Well, I thought it with Ninja Turtles. I thought it with Ninja Turtles. Like, that's the same, not the same. I mean, Disney's probably worse, but no, I'll probably do that at some point too. And see what I can get away with.
Be sweet. That would be sweet.
Let's see what I can get away with.
We need more people who could do that. Who just say, you know what, I'm going to do this and see what I can get away with. I love that. Well, as we kind of round out your time here with us, Philip, especially in the spotlight part, we just wanted to ask, like, what games have you been playing personally? Like, I know you said earlier that, you had moved and you were trying to get your game room set back up and everything. But what, like, just within the last week or 2 weeks, what's really grabbed your attention? What you've been playing?
So for this Mega Man issue, I just had a major marathon of Mega Man games. I played all 11 of the mainline ones. So I just did that, hot off of that. But I started playing because of that, and I've been sitting on it, and I dug out my 64 for it. I got Mega Man 64, which is really Mega Man Legends. I've never played that before. I'm only about an hour onto it. I'm not really feeling it, but I know people love it. So, I'll hang in there. But so I'm playing that a little bit, and then I started playing Wario Land 3, right? That's the one that's on Nintendo Switch Online. I started playing that. That's great. That's awesome. And it's funny that popped up because the Nintendo Power I was reading with my coffee in the morning had a whole feature of Wario Land 3, and I was looking on eBay, and then I think the direct was like the next day. I was like, "Oh, this is great." I was like, "This is perfect." Yeah, it just like showed up. So
all you had to do was get that one and start reading it.
Nintendo ninjas were watching you, they knew you were looking at that game, and then they were like, "You know what? We'll help them out. We'll do them a solid this time."
Say that, like you mentioned in the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games, I'm really loving showing those to my son because there's never really been an easy way to do that. And he's a big Wario fan, and so he's been playing through Wario Land 3. He got Super Mario Land 2. I think he beat it within the first 2 days, which it's not like super hard, but
no,
he has been loving those. I've been loving his reaction too of him playing those Game Boy games. Like, I don't think I've played Minish Cap since it came out. So that's like on my list of things to go back to next.
Cool. Yeah, I played a few minutes of Mario Land 2. That was actually the first Game Boy game I ever got. Got it with my Game Boy. Christmas, whatever year that was. It was awesome. I have like very vivid memory of like being, because I opened it at like midnight or whatever, and I just remember waking up at like 4 a.m. Everybody's asleep, and I'm just like crouched under the lamp, trying to get light on this thing. Like, I can remember it like perfectly. I played a few minutes of that, and the thing that I thought was funny is I got the star. I didn't even think anything of it because the song's so weird when you get the star. And my kids were just like, that's the Invincible music. I was like, yeah, that's it. And they're like, why is it not the Invincible? Like, that was just, they were just not having it. I was like, well, it's kind of a weird Mario game. And the rules weren't really established yet at that point. But yeah,
Game Boy, Mario, and Zelda were both strange. It was Nintendo allowed themselves to be a little weird with that, which was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. Yep. And then it's funny, like, you see that the Mario Land evolution into the Wario games. It's just such a cool like path. I like that those guys, instead of following what the main, or I guess EAD was probably making the main Mario games. What was it? R&D 1 was probably doing Wario, right? I like that instead of like following exactly, learning what they were doing, trying to reproduce it, they were just like, no, we're just going to do our own thing. And then they really just, it came into its own and became a wholly like original thing with the Wario games. But yeah, I'm enjoying that. And I think that probably covers what I'm playing.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we have had you here for about an hour, and we're thankful, so thankful for you for the time that you've spent with us. And I encourage every one of our listeners, go to Hand Drawn. What's the website again? I just was on it, but now I had a brain fart.
I'm a mess with these sites. So handdrawngameguides.com will take you to all the books we just talked about. They're all PDFs are all there for free, and then there's a link to the Patreon on there if you want to check that out.
Yeah, and you should. I encourage all of our folks to go over and support your Patreon and get signed up for that Mega Man issue, guys. That's really what you're going to want. So lock in, get in the Mega. Where else can people find you, Philip, if they would like to interact with you or follow what you're doing?
They can find me on Twitter at HeyPhilSummers and Instagram as well. Same handle at HeyPhilSummers.
Awesome. Well, we want to thank you for your time again. Thanks for being on the show again.
Thank you.
For those who don't know, he's been a guest here before. And if you want to, we invite you to stick around here for, kind of as we close out the show. But we do understand if you need to go, time's precious. So,
I mean,
if we see you did,
I can stick around. I mean, it's
awesome. Well, we want you to.
Oh, all right.
We want you to. And so, no, we're not going to kick anybody out. We kind of give everybody
to give people an out.
Give people the trapdoor option, right? They can just be there 1 minute and then poof. Okay, but anyway, so
ejection seat.
I'm not going to just sit here talking about myself and then leave.
Well, anyway, you guys go over and check out Twitter and Instagram. Check out Philip's accounts over there. Be sure to go to handdrawngameguides.com. And again, you can find lots of great stuff there, including a link to his Patreon, where you can get on the list to get these beautiful bi-monthly issues. And you can do one of two options. They'll just be direct mailed to you. You can do a digital option, right? Just get the PDF, or you can get a bagged and boarded and sealed like a comic book version of this as well that will be sent to you. Hopefully, that's it's better condition, right?
They still get. I've had a couple. I did have one already where they were like, my collector one was dinged. I'm like, all right, I'll get you another one.
Yeah, and post office will still fold these things to shove it in a box. Nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. Here's a little secret. Here's a little pro tip. If you're just curious about it, you can literally sign up for it. The way I handled the PDF, the digital versions, is they're just posts. So if you just sign up, you can look at literally everything. And if you hate it, you can just quit. It won't even charge you like $1. You can just check it out. I think the way other Patreons probably handle their digital stuff like that is I think they might email or DM links to the PDF. They kind of hide it, but it's just an archive. So if you want to go and look at it, it's all there.
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about one more topic while we're here in the Let's Discuss section of the show. News articles have shown up this week basically stating or positing a rumor that Nintendo has been sitting on Metroid Prime Remastered for up to 18 months.
I believe it.
And Tim, I thought this was, I'm glad you believe that, because I want to sit here in the pocket and talk about that, because Tim has been dying for this game for, over a year. We had seen everybody from Jeff Grubb, who's pretty, reliable. He's been on the show before. We trust him. He had said it's out there. It exists. It's real. He's even come out this week and reiterated Prime 2 and 3 are also coming in light of the remaster, but maybe just as HD, ports instead of the full treatment that one got. But Tim, I just want to throw this directly at you and say, why in the world would Nintendo sit on this for 18 months? And then we're going to let Justin tell us why we're all wrong about why they would sit on it for 18 months. So what do you think?
Because Prime 4 wasn't ready. So now it's closer to being ready. They wanted to, they timed it to where this would make sense. So Prime 4 wasn't ready last year, so this game wasn't coming out. Or it wasn't ready in the time frame, in the window they wanted to release the remaster. So now it's in that window, whatever that window could be. Maybe it's within, the year, or they have, like I said, the cadence of Prime Remastered 1, 2, and 3. There will be a cadence for those. And yes, we've predicted those already. We've talked about those already. Long before everybody else did. I'll keep reiterating that. But we speculated that there would be no trilogy. It would be each one released in a time frame, in a cadence leading up to 4. My personal prediction is that 4 won't be out until 2025. So I figured that this would come out in this year, and there'd be 1 year from there on. So 2023 is Prime Remastered 1, 2024 is 2, and 2025 at the beginning is 3, or in some cadence like that.
That's a long plan.
And so let me say this. So what I hear you saying is that you are now firmly believe that Metroid Prime 4 will not be on the Nintendo Switch as we know it right now.
I don't think I think it's going to be the Switch 2. I take that back. It's going to be one of those dual things. It's going to be on both the Switch, a version of it like they did the Wii U and the Switch. I think there'll be 2 versions of it. I know Justin's saying no, but
I see Metroid doesn't make enough money. It's not that big of an IP that they're going to double dip on the system, so they're only going to put it on one. So it's only going to be on the Switch if they end up doing it. I'd love to. Now, Dread had a great time, but still, Dread sales were not. They're not Breath of the Wild. You got to remember, it is not an A tier. Yeah. I do believe Metroid Prime is coming out this year. I believe you're right, Tim. They have set it up. The reason they've been sitting on it was Prime 4 wasn't ready. They are priming us to be ready for the next game, right? Now, the question is, do they have 2 and 3 ready?
Yeah, and Dread was the highest selling Metroid, still is the highest selling Metroid.
Mm-hmm.
I
think Prime is going to be bigger than Dread.
Oh, really?
Prime 4? Prime 4 is going to be bigger than Dread.
I'm thinking that too.
It could be. So another thing, the reason about them sitting on it is Dread, right? We didn't know, like, when you think back, we only knew about Dread, 3 months in advance?
Mm-hmm.
So
at most, yeah.
Yeah, so they, why would they put Prime out before that, around that? You wait a year. So I believe that's probably a huge reason why they sat on it. Yeah. But sorry.
Well, Prime was 2021. Dread was 2021, wasn't it? It was October 2021.
Yes. Yep. Dread was 2021.
So Prime Remastered could have feasibly come out last year in 2022, but they held on to it because Prime 4 wasn't ready till they figured out when, because they didn't announce it to us, obviously. We don't have a date for Prime 4, but they know, they have a general idea, a roadmap. So whatever that roadmap is, whether it's the end of this year, 2024, or whatever, there's a window there that they're going to release Prime 4 after this, obviously. And then I do believe there will be a 2 and 3. I hope not that long. I would love to have Prime 4 this year. That would be awesome. But I also want to see a remaster of 2 and 3 leading up. Personally, I would love to have all 3 of those remastered.
Yeah.
So I personally think that Metroid Prime 4 is the swan song for the Switch. I don't think it's Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom has been in development for a long time, and yes, so is Metroid Prime 4. But if you remember, they had to restart it, and there was a huge promise made that this would be on Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo tries to deliver whenever they make big promises like that. So I think we're going to see it. I think we're probably going to see it in the first part of 24, which means we'll get all 3 Metroid Prime games this year. In fact, I think that Metroid Prime 2 and 3 will be used in the latter half of 2023 to pad the releases out as, the first party releases slow down.
Or at least within this fiscal year or this new fiscal year coming up.
Fiscal year could also be a good way of doing it. But I believe that we'll see Metroid Prime 4 in the first half of 24, and then we'll see whatever's next for Switch at E3 or around that time of 24. I think it's coming. It's inevitable. I just don't like when you've got this game and it's pretty much been leaked, right? I mean, like the fact that it existed, that it had been made, it was a well-known leak. Why hold it? Why hold it? This to me would have been something that, like, when they announced Metroid Dread DLC, like that free update we got with the boss rush and all, and the new mode where one hit kills you. Be like, oh, and for more Metroid fun, here's Metroid Prime Remastered. Yeah. And then they could have done 2, late last year, and 3 sometime this year, and it would have had the momentum going a little bit longer. It would have kept Metroid in the public discourse a little bit longer.
I think they're doing that. It's just they had to hold on to it because 4 wasn't in a point to where they wanted to release in this cadence. So that's why I think it was held on to for 18 months.
Yeah.
So Metroid Prime Remastered says, I've been on the shelf for 18 months. Mother and Star Fox 2 says, hold our beers.
True.
That's true. Well, guys, let's talk for just a quick few minutes about some events coming up and then what we've been playing to round out the show.
All right. Discord community events is the main one we got going on every second Wednesday of the month at 9 a.m. Eastern time and every third Friday of the month at 10 p.m. Eastern time. The community gets together at the table, otherwise known as a Discord voice chat room, to discuss whatever is on everyone's mind. If you want to join, email us at nintendodads@gmail.com or DM us on our social medias to learn more. And that's it. Let's move on to what we've been playing.
Well, Philip, you've already talked about what you've been playing, so we'll dive in here with us. And if you have been, maybe you've had an experience with one of these games and you want to chime in, please feel free to as well. And so, Jesse, we'll head over to you first. What have you been playing?
Okay, so I did play through the Sea of Stars demo. I think Justin said he played it too.
Same here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that one kind of took me off guard a little bit. I saw how little magic points I had, so I was kind of focusing on just normal attacks. And then I realized after I got to a point when, okay, I have to start using these magics because it's kicking my butt. But it does, your magic regens a little bit every turn. So it's, so it's kind of designed that as a limiter, but still not so much that you can't pull off a special move every 3 or 4 turns, which is something you're going to have to do in that last boss.
Yeah.
Because I at one after one round of his attacks once, 2 of my 3 people fainted, and the third one had like 2 hit points left. So I was that close from losing that fight and having to start it over.
Yeah.
And then
I like the combo system. The combo system was interesting too.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to unlock the third one, I don't think. Or at least I never had a chance to pull it off. But I did do the first 2, and that was fun. Yeah, that's a throwback from Chrono Trigger.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I'm looking for. I did kickstart that, so I'm looking forward to that when it comes out. Sprite works gorgeous, and I thought it was
absolutely
for sure.
one of the scenes where I was up on a shore and hit the water, it just smoothly went into like this swimming pose. Kind of, I'm like, wow, that's really impressive. So, and then I finished The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. I remember playing it when it was relatively new. Then I played it again with the 3DS Ambassador program when we got that for free for that. I don't think I beat it that time then, but I did get deep in. So this is I think the second time I beat the game. And the one thing I realized is I kind of hate the 4-sword mechanic. Because like, especially that last boss fight, like whenever you have to go into 4-sword mode to do damage, it's slow. It takes like 15 seconds to get geared up and positioned right. Your hitbox is a third of the width of the screen, so it's really easy to get smacked, and then you have to start over. And it's just clunky. I didn't like it, so I'm kind of glad that's over.
That tarnished your view of the game.
A little bit.
Boss?
Okay. Yeah, and it's a small game. It's a very small map, but it's packed with things to do. Between dungeons, I could spend 4 or 5 hours just doing things. Find people to merge kinstones together, to open up a path, to go somewhere else. And I've never gotten all the kinstones done. There are paths that are still blocked off for me that
I forgot about the kinstones.
I unlocked the Bigaron, but don't know what he does. And when he's standing there, you see his hands up on the game path, and you like walk under his hand, and you can see his fingers move, so he doesn't squish you. I thought that was a neat thing to. It was a detail that they didn't have to do, and they did it.
Right.
It was cute. But yeah, those are the games I've been playing.
Nice. Awesome. Tim, what about you?
Mainly just had time focusing on actually Fire Emblem Engaged. That's been taking most of my time. I've really been into it, enjoying every moment I've been playing it. Nintendo gave us a code for that, and it didn't realize it, but they gave us the code for the full version with the DLC. So when the waves came out, I was like, it opened up what's called the Divine Paralogs, and it popped up on there, and I thought it was part of the game, but then when I was going to look up some information, it was like, oh, the DLC Wave 1 Divine Paralog has Tiki. And I was like, oh, that's part of the DLC. Oh, nice. Thank you, Nintendo. So, and then I did a video of that, my first experience of that Wave 1. They just recently launched Wave 2, which has 3 more bracelets or emblems you can get. And it's the Radiant Strategist, the Brash General, and the Doting Sister. Look them up if you are interested in the DLC. I don't want to spoil anything in case anybody's interested in that. But it is part of the DLC Wave 2 portion, and I beat that over this week. Each match that I go into takes me about an hour to an hour and a half. So last night I spent like 3 hours going through that Wave 2 and beating those three emblems to get them. So that was fun. So I'm getting back into the game hopefully this weekend, starting back at chapter 12, and I believe there's like 20 something chapters. So I still got a ways to go. And like I said, it's about an hour and a half to complete each chapter for me. So I got a little ways to go, but I'm trying to stay focused. But every now and then Justin throws a game at me to try and, do a look at. So I have one coming up to do. So, but my focus is Fire Emblem, and that's what I've been playing.
Cool. Love it. Justin, what about you?
Two ones I'll highlight. Sea of Stars, as was mentioned earlier. Holy cow, holy cow, holy cow. That is like, why is it not August? That game is fantastic.
I know, right?
Sprite work is amazing. Like I said in my review, like I was like, they're 6 months out from this thing actually being out, and this is the vertical slice they put out. Like, I can only imagine how polished this thing is going to be. I freaking loved it. So that's great. I'm also playing a little game called Metroid Prime Remastered, which is my first time playing this because I did not have a GameCube. So I never played Metroid Prime 1. I played Metroid Prime 3 on the Wii. So I missed 1 and 2. Oh my gosh, this game is so good. So good. I'm loving all of it. And sometimes get, I've got lost, I think, once, or couldn't figure out where I need to go next, but the game does such a good job of like really directing you where you need to go. Spoiler, I guess I'll say I've finished the first boss, and then I've now transitioned to a world full of ice and snow. And then Ridley came flying over me. And that was such a great shot. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? That is right. That is awesome.
Justin, real quick, can I mention this? You know how much I love me some Metroid games, like in the Metroid Prime games. I've put this to the side to finish Fire Emblem Engage. So
what?
That's how much I'm into Fire Emblem Engage. I put aside the remaster.
That either tells me Fire Emblem Engage is really good or Metroid Prime Remastered is your least favorite.
Nope, it is my most favorite game, but since I played it already, I know what to expect. Yeah, and, it's like Fire Emblem I haven't played before, and I'm really digging the story and stuff. But I am so happy to hear people like you who've played it are playing it for the first time and just loving it.
I was going to say the same thing.
It's really funny too, because when I played, so sit in this pocket for a little bit, and I know we were like, let's be quick about this. But when I played Metroid Prime 3, it was when I was a new dad, like first time dad, and I didn't get gaming time. So like my wife would go to sleep and my daughter would go to sleep. And then I would go downstairs at like midnight on a Friday and play Metroid Prime 3 from like midnight to like 2. But I kept the stereo down really low because I didn't want to wake anyone. So I never really heard the audio cues, right? Or that environment. So you're just like through the goggles, right? You're like, okay, got to go here, got to go there. But now, like, I'm sitting here in my office playing it, and I'm throwing on the Steel Series, like audio sound design everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like you feel isolated. You feel like I heard a sound over there. Like if you are not playing these type of games with headphones on or something where you get a good design, you are missing a lot of environmental cues.
That so much immersion, even back when it was on the GameCube and then eventually the Wii, the immersion in this game is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. I just I'm like, please play like just Metroid 2 somewhere else, Metroid 3, 4. Like I really hope that's what they're doing. Like I hope like in 2 months from now they're like Metroid 2. Boom, here you go.
I'll take that for sure.
2 months later.
I would love to be wrong.
There you go. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, 4 dropped right here. Yes, that is what you need to do. That is what you need to do. It has got me so much more excited for Prime 4. I genuinely think Prime 4 is coming out this year. I think so. Fingers like it's been 4 years since they said that it was taken over.
Yeah, the restart.
That it was restarted. A build cycle of a game typically is about 4 years.
Yeah.
Now you're assuming in that case they burnt every asset down to the ground and like started from zero scratch, right? I don't think that's the case. I think they had some stuff. I think they had some frames, right? Something.
Really?
They may have they at least, I mean, to recycle some assets.
I mean, my thought is that they never even saw it. They don't even know what it is.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But like 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who did they give it to? What studio was it? Retro?
It's Retro.
Retro's got the
Retro.
Yeah, Retro has
Retro didn't do the whole, I mean, I don't know for sure, but like Retro would have still been not open, but they would have still been in production during COVID, right? Mm-hmm. Not like Nintendo kind of did a full lockdown, but Retro was doing their own stuff, right? So like there are I think they would have pivoted. Their studio's a little bit different. They're really reliant on getting these games out. So I really like, you're at that 4-year cycle. I mean, sure. Look at, if you're even put at the end of this year, you're at 4.5, almost 5 years since they said, nope, we're redoing it.
So I can't wait for that unseen 64 video of whatever that Metroid Prime game was. Like, I can't, like, the whole story is so interesting. I would love to know.
I would love to hear about that too.
Yeah. Like what was it? Why was it just not coming together? Did they even have anything? Was it a disaster? I mean, obviously it was a disaster. They canceled it, but like, how far was it? Like, could you even play the thing?
Right.
But
it was Metroid Prime free to play.
Yeah. Gosh. And then here's the other thing
for a battle royale.
That would God. Well, I wouldn't mind that. Not Prime 4, but like a mode like that. I actually kind of liked the multiplayer Metroid Prime 2. I know nobody liked that, but
it was fun in our house. We goofed around with it a lot of fun.
It wasn't GoldenEye, but
it wasn't one problem that Prime 2 had was it came out like the same week, or if not the same day as Halo 2.
Yeah. So, and Metal Gear Solid 3, I think, as well. That was a crazy, may have even been San Andreas at that point too. That was a crazy time.
Tough games to go up against for sure.
Yeah, wow, crazy time. And then like nobody cared about GameCube already at that point. So
yeah,
it's just, but no, and it's a miracle that like Metroid Prime even was good. I think that was like Retro is they had a bunch of like iguana people, right? I think they're ex-iguana team.
Yes.
And they worked on like Turok games. And I played the first Turok for the 64 about like a year or two ago. And it's kind of like cool to see like there's a little bit of Metroid Prime in there, like hints of it. And it's kind of cool to see that.
Something they learned from.
Yeah, just the way like the camera kind of works, the HUD, like the exploration aspect of it. There's signs there, so it's pretty cool.
Well, there's a reason why when Jedi Fallen Order was announced and they were interviewing the developers there, they said the maps was influenced by Metroid Prime. The gameplay from there influenced some of the development of Jedi Fallen Order.
It's funny. I've been playing Fallen Order last couple of weeks too, as well. And yeah, that's a really great point. You can definitely see that, like the map, if it spin kind of. Yeah, it's a great. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Justin, you playing anything else?
No, those are it. I mean, that's all I need.
So I've been playing Metroid Prime as well. We'll talk about that because there's in our next section there's a specific question for me about this, and so we'll get to that. But I'll tell you what's been the game that has been ruling any time for video games that I have this past week has been Hogwarts Legacy. Been playing that.
You are not alone, sir.
Spending time in the evenings playing that with my wife because she's a huge Harry Potter fan. Like we got together and designed our character, and we decided what house we wanted to be, and all that stuff. It's just been it's been a ton of fun, and it's it's impossible to not get lost in side quests as you're playing it and just like go exploring and just take that world in. It's so good. I'm also progressing in The Last of Us Part 1. I'm probably about halfway through that right now, first time playthrough. So I am about where in the game where the show is. So, we're kind of in the same spot. So we finished that chapter. And so it's been a lot of fun.
Are you deliberately kind of playing? Sorry, are you deliberately kind of playing along with the chapters, or just
no? I really just play it until I feel like I can't hold the pee back any longer, like to pee my pants. Like I don't do scary games, guys. I don't, and it's really like today I was playing it and I was like, it's just. And what I told my wife was like, she's like, we can play Last of Us. We've got a few hours, like not doing anything. I was like. And she's like, well, we don't have to play it if you don't want to. And I was like, no, it's not that. I was like, it's a fantastic game. It's so good, but it's it just gives me this feeling of despair, like of hopelessness.
It drains you.
I do. Like I play it until I just can't play anymore. It's like I've just shot and killed 400, 30 people and gotten chased by a man with a mushroom for a head. And so I'm done. Like I'm done. I can't.
Code has gotten real crazy.
Yeah.
I drive if we're talking about the show for a quick second, not spoiler. All right. But I'll say last scene, the hotel that they're staying at, that lodge where they're outside.
Jeez, Pete's.
Yeah. Drive past that hotel every single drive time I go to Calgary.
Oh my gosh.
That is in my mother-in-law's town that she stays in. And I was like, wait, son of a gun. Like, I mean,
now you got to see that with a different.
So I'm going to tell you, as we're driving up, we're going up actually on Sunday to Calgary. And I'm going to be like, right there is where two people might be in that dirt, I suspect.
Yep. Yeah. The show's brilliant. I can't say anything bad about the show. The game is brilliant.
Have to watch it.
I want to throw out two other games that I'm playing, and we'll have videos of these up in the coming days, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. Pixel Lines 2 Into the Puzzleverse is going to be out on the 22nd on the Switch. If you remember Pixel Lines and Pixel Lines 500 More Puzzles came out like way back when. And so this is just more. They try to have a story for a puzzle game. It's kind of goofy, but it's more of what you expect. You can check out the video and see my review of it there. And then also a game called Void Scrappers, which is basically Vampire Survivor in space with a few tweaks. And so that launches on the March 3rd on the Switch. So we'll have a video about that up on our channel. But both of those I would go ahead and say are their wins. I give them a thumbs up. And then today I also bought Blanc and Disney Dreamlight Valley because I don't have enough to play. So that's what we've been playing. Let's turn on the community spotlights.
All right, Marty, you got a question.
All right, ready? Ask me.
All right. Crimson Skidmark. I know we love his name. Crimson Skidmark.
Oh my gosh.
Request is specifically for you. I think we deserve a real review of Metroid Prime once you finished it on the Switch. I asked this because your years back when y'all were still doing the Retro Rewind, I was looking forward to you talking about it, as it happens to be in my top 10 games of all time. Please forgive me, but you did it dirty. Looking forward to your redemption review.
Yeah, so I can't do a review right now because I haven't finished it. I'm not even out of the first area. Like I'm out of the space station, but I'm not out of I just picked it up and started. Like I got the morph ball back. But I will say this: I will gladly eat crow on this. Okay, because it's gorgeous, it's fantastic. Like you said, atmospheric is a great word to describe this. The control schemes being fixed and making it more twin stick has made all of the difference. All right, it's literally so. I'm really enthusiastic about it. I think that if Prime 2 and 3 are like Jeff Grubb says, if they're just like HD ports, of this, the main thing that Nintendo has to do is to continue this control scheme fix that they started with this remaster and port it over to the next two titles. Otherwise, I'm not going to have fun with them. I didn't the first time, so it wasn't my cup of tea that way. But this way. Maybe it's just maybe I've played a lot more shooters too, and a lot more games like that. Having a whole lot more fun with it right now than I did on the GameCube and even on the Wii.
That sounds like a good redemption to me. All right. So we'll move on to the next one. Next question is also Metroid related from Quagmire. Which game was your first introduction to Metroid? Well, let me just ask that. What was your first introduction to Metroid?
Metroid.
Yes.
Mine was Super Metroid.
NES version.
NES. So this one's kind of hard to answer because I do remember trying Metroid on the NES. I never owned the NES. It was my friend's NES. I tried it there. So is that my introduction? I wasn't into it though. So I really didn't know much about it. So I guess that's my introduction.
Well, it's kind of saying like, when was the first time you had pizza? I don't know, but I didn't like it. And I liked it later. You're like, well, you technically had pizza.
Yeah.
Right? So
okay.
It's great. It's great.
That was your introduction.
But I didn't really fall in love with Metroid until
I asked when you had pizza, not when you loved pizza.
When I got Prime and Fusion and played those. Then I went back to play the others later on. So Prime and Fusion were the ones that got me to really love Metroid in the series.
I mean, I didn't like it at first either, the NES one. Like I can remember, I mean, like, I was probably like 7 years old. I mean, I can remember playing it, not really making sense of it. And it was one of those games that kind of like, I didn't have it, but I would play it here and there. And then at some point on the NES, I did eventually borrow it off somebody or whatever. And I like got super into it. So it did take time, but I would still count that initial moment as that was my introduction to Metroid.
But I remember the regular, starting it and playing it. I hated it. Like, it was like, but I love the music. Like, I love the presentation and just the atmosphere of it even then. But then the Justin Bailey code, where it made it where you're, there at the very end and you can beat the game. Deal. I was like, oh yeah, I'm okay. I'm in for that.
All right.
That
was a big deal.
Way. But I like, it didn't click for me like that. The love of Metroid didn't click for me until Super Metroid. And then from there, Zero Mission, Fusion.
And I think that's when Metroid really began to have its identity in the zeitgeist of gaming, right? Like maybe you had played it over. Like, I've never heard anyone's like, you know what? I loved the original Metroid for NES. It was amazing, right? Like, that is not a typical story you hear from people, right? Oh, that's what really got me into gaming. But when you think of when I think of Metroid, the first thing that goes to my mind is Super Metroid. And I think one of the top 3 games on the Super Nintendo. Right, like that solidified itself, and it began to kind of get it in the gaming zeitgeist of like, this is an IP that you should be paying attention to, and is critical and is important and is moving it forward. I mean, you have an entire genre, Metroidvania, right? Like it began to craft this idea of what it is and the ethos around it.
I think the first time I played it, it was a rental from the mom and pop shop. It was password based, so if I on a subsequent rental, I could still continue from where I left off. And I'm pretty sure I had one of those Nintendo Power maps of the area in my lap, because there's no way in hell I would have done that by myself.
Yep. Yes. So speaking of which, a lot of our first introductions were 2D, but it asked, do you prefer 2D or 3D? Quagmire says, my first Metroid game was Prime 1 and loved it. I then played Fusion, Zero Mission, and bought a copy of Super Metroid on eBay, as I still had my SNES. I did pick up Prime 2, but didn't think it was nearly as good. I did play and buy Dread. It was good, but too hard and stressful to replay. Can't wait for Prime 4. So, going back to the question, do you prefer 2D or 3D? We've had this debate before.
I'm going to pivot on this question of what do y'all think of Other M? Because that is a 2D and 3D at various points.
I would call Other M a 2D game that has 3D. Because you don't actually fight in 3D other than, you shoot missiles and you pixel hunt. But the majority of the game is in the 2D style.
But the map is still 3D. It's still a 3D map.
Yeah. But I think when he says 2D, you're on a plane. You walk on a plane. That plane may change as you hit the corner of a corridor, but that plane is still on a plane nonetheless at that point.
I honestly think the Other M is seriously slept on. I get that some people didn't like the voice acting and things, but as a game, as a Metroid adventure, extremely solid, tons of fun. And it was a great change of pace, like trying new things in that Wii era. Now, would I have made every choice they made? No, but like I know there's some people who are just like, well, just erase it, just kick it out. Well, no, I mean, I think it's important, and I actually went back when Dread, like right before Dread came out, so it wasn't last year's, a couple of years ago, and bought Other M on the Wii U, just so I could have it because I don't have any other way to play it. I think it's.
I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah, yeah, and I think one of the things with Other M that I think people kind of forget is that as good as the Prime games were, there's like some Prime fatigue kicking in, right? So if they just did Metroid Prime 4 there, I don't think there would have been any excitement. So even though Other M didn't quite pan out the way they intended it to, it was so exciting when it revealed, right? Like people were so pumped for that game. Like it.
Yes. I think the other interesting part about Prime when it came onto the scene was about the same time or shortly after Xbox comes onto the scene with a character sort of similar in a lot of ways, right? With Master Chief, and you're again first person shooter, right? And so it was interesting to kind of see those two things jockeying, right, for position. You had the Nintendo versioning of that, and you have the Xbox world of it as well, and how they competed in that first person shooter kind of versioning of it, right? But I think you're right. Like I think like to be able to say like here's our trilogy done, right? And then to have this 10-year gap now, 15-year gap almost for 4 to come out, I think that's really incredible. I think we talk about Other M. It's like if you are a super deep, what I find is like if you are a super deep actually Metroid fan, like then you hate it. But for everyone else, is just like, no, I think gaming is cool, and I'm like I'm not super attached, and I don't necessarily love her voice acting. Could have been better, but like, hey, there's a fun game here, right? And I think the chat said it here as long, like it doesn't deserve the hate it's got.
No, it did not at all.
I did like Other M, and I played it along with all the other 2D games up in 2 years ago in the lead up to Dread. I kind of use the derogatory term pixel hunt because that's the worst part of the game. But the actual normal gameplay is great.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been a great Mega Man game.
Great point.
I have long talked about, Philip, that they could reboot Mega Man in the modern day by making it a third person style multiplayer shooter where you can cycle through the powers and use them on each other.
That's probably what remember that there was like that Mega Man X demo that actually Prime guys put together. That's probably what they were thinking. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
Kind of cool. I think people hated that when that video came out, but I thought it was interesting.
But I was saying that back when there wasn't Mega Man 11, right? Like that wasn't a thing we knew about. And so I was hoping that would be, hey, at least there's something Mega Man, right? Yeah. But now I just want 12 in that same art style. It looks so good.
Yeah.
All right. So I got Marty's 2D answer. So what else did everybody else have?
Metroid 2D all the way.
What else?
My answer. I'm not even going to say it. My answer.
Yeah, it's just 2D. I know. Philip, what's yours? 2D or 3D?
Justin, you were going to go. Go ahead.
I was going to say I think 3D. And again, my only reference point right now is really Prime 3, but really right now with the original Prime. But again, it's got to have the right headphones on, right? You've got to be in that immersion.
Okay.
Philip?
I don't know. I know that's a dumb answer, but they're so different. Prime is a much slower paced game. You're in a different mindset, I feel like, when you're playing those games. I don't know. It's hard. I love them both. Terrible answer.
No, it's actually, I mean, if you're a Metroid fan, you're going to love them all. You're going to take every Metroid game you get because it's sometimes can be very far and few between.
And here's the other thing too. It's hard because there's certain, I like some of the 3D ones better than some of the 2D ones. I like some of the 2D better than the 3D. So I don't know. It's hard.
It's good when they mix them up, right? So you get a good, you're not getting all of these 2Ds and getting tired of them, and then all of these 3Ds and getting tired of them. So it's good when they mix it up. Yeah. So it's working out the way they're doing it right now.
Yep.
Excellent question. All right, next one is from Mecca, who's in our chat as well. Do you dads talk to your kids about putting too much money into live service games, making sure they know how addicting or grind heavy they are, or how any minute now the game might shut down their doors? Marty saying yes.
So a little disclosure here. My kids have played Fortnite, Apex, all that stuff, where there are consumables and bucks you can buy and all that. Currently, in our family, nobody is playing Fortnite. I've even deleted it off my Switch because I got burnt out. I got to a point where it was like I would feel like I couldn't play other games because I gotta do the grind progression, right? I gotta make level 100. So I got up to level 100 this season, and I was just like, I've been doing this since the Marvel season in chapter 2. And I was just like, this doesn't do it for me anymore. So I deleted it. My son had already been off of it for a while. The person I'm having to have conversations with it about right now is my mother. Like I added her to my Apple family plan and was getting like daily charges for stuff for like Solitaire Garden or something like that. And we just have a family meeting and be like, look, you do realize that this is not your card that it's using for these purchases. You just charged $80 in solitaire coins to my personal debit card. Like, you cannot. She's like, well, I'll PayPal you. And I was like, no, we're going to put your card on there. And if I spend anything, I'll pay you. How about that?
Who is on Fortnite? That's what I was hoping that conversation was.
Well,
You're like,
you know what though? Here's the thing:
premium battle passing right now, and she is clicking heads and shredding them.
The hope for Nintendo this year. My mom is actually talking about buying a Switch. It's been out for 7 years, and she's like, "Oh, I think I might buy a Switch." She did this with the Nintendo DS too. Like, she waited until the very end of the life cycle. It's like, I think I'll buy one of those.
So she's the perfect target for that reduced price Switch with all the cheap games.
Yes.
Yeah. But to answer Becca's question, we have had that conversation because, they much longer than they've had Switches, they've had iPads. And they've had, monetized games there. We just don't really do that in our house. Like, we're not spending too much money on that. Battle Pass for Fortnite was about it, and we're done with that. What about the rest of you guys?
I have not had those conversations. My kids don't play. Like, my daughter played Fortnite, and she said one time, she's like, "Can I get the Battle Pass?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so I bought her the Battle Pass, or I bought her the club, what is it? The membership crew. I was like, "That's the best deal," and then we're just going to unsubscribe it. Right. And she's like, okay. And I was like, and if you want it, we can talk about it next season and talk about like if you got value out of it. And she's like, okay. And then when the next season came around, she's like, no, I'm good. And I was like, okay. She just played that in that moment. Right. So they don't use a lot of microtransactions that way. My youngest is really the only one of the two of them that play games. And yeah, my oldest is kind of fallen out of it, if I'm being honest.
Philip,
I'm laughing at Quag in the chat. We'll go back to him in a minute, but right now my son's 22. He has a job. He buys whatever he wants to buy, and I don't care as long as he can afford what he needs to. But when he was younger, he did ask. He was playing CS:GO, and he asked if he could buy, like, what do they call it? They're basically loot boxes, but they were like, I don't know what they called it in the game. And I'm like, well, we did kind of have that conversation where it's like, well, you're not guaranteed to get what you want. They want you to buy, many, many, many of these. Are you sure you want to pay for this? Thing that I'm not buying it. If he wants to buy it, he's got to do it. This was before he was old enough to get a job, meaning he needed to find a way to get money. And he goes, I think I'll wait. So I think he kind of did understand, oh yeah, money has value and I don't have it. And back then we didn't have to worry about games shutting down like we do in 2023. but that's even a scarier thing.
Yeah. I have a friend whose son likes Fortnite, and they play together and they all this kind of stuff. And he'll do hey, I want this, I want that. And they're like, nope, we're not doing that. But what we'll do is we'll load, as a birthday gift or a gift for doing your chores or whatever, we'll put, you've earned it. So we'll put $20 of V-Bucks or, whatever the equivalency is in there, and you can choose something from there. But when that's gone, right? And so it's not associated with his own money or his own credit card or like the parents' credit card or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, there is a little bit of, I think, especially with that, like the monetization and like, I mean, I think as children, like not understanding the value of it, and especially again, like when everything is digitally delivered, right? There's no, if you don't have those like prompts to stop, or you need a second login or a key, or did you authorize this? They can do dumb things. I remember my kids at one point, like we had on the TV or whatever, it was like rent to buy or whatever. I didn't put a second authorization code in there, and they rented, like Despicable Me or whatever it was, right? They just kind of, I remember coming downstairs one day hearing Despicable Me on the TV, and I was like, I'm sorry, we don't own this. What did you do? And they're like, oh, I hit this button and this button. And I'm like, oh, and there it is on the credit card. Right.
At that.
But yeah, like we've all had those things, right? And those Apple parents who get charged $400 because their kid hit buy, right? Like when there is no physical versioning of something, there's no understanding of the tangibleness of it and digital consumption. And we also live in a world where like on-demand digital, I want is instant. Right? Like that's hard to teach a child. Like, yes, you could literally hit that button and you get the thing you want, but like you have to work for that. And you're like, so to work and then come back and press the button in like 2 hours. And you're like, yeah, I get it. I understand. Right. And that's a challenge, right? And that's, even when you talk about finances in general, that's a larger challenge you talk about with children, right? Like the idea of like mom and dad pay with a credit card. Well, we never see that. It's ones and zeros, right? So like, what does that actually mean? And my paycheck goes automatically in my bank account. Like you never like you physically have those things, right? So there's a lot of like
I don't think any of my kids have ever received a paycheck that they had to deposit. It's always been direct deposit.
My youngest daughter got a check for Christmas, and she lost it.
Oops. Oh no.
She's just like, I don't know where it went. And I was like that was a good amount of money. Yeah. Right. Like, but she didn't think about it. She was like, oh, that's great. And just like moved on. Whereas if it was like $20 in an envelope, she was like, oh, I get this. Yeah. Right? But I was like, no, we've got to take you to the bank with a check to get the thing. Right. And there's a lot of that like course around it. Right. So I don't know. That's my rant on, but companies also understand this for children. Right.
Yes.
Like, sorry, like people were like, oh my gosh, Epic, like you made a children's game that like children's play, and there's loop and there's boxes and there's things you purchase. Yep, that's how this works. Right? Yeah. Like, sorry, Epic, who was it? Overwatch got in trouble for it. They had to remove all their loot crates, right? That's why Overwatch 2 changed the way it did, because of the EU ruling regarding gambling, right? Yeah. And children's, like, there's a lot of things around it, right? Like, games are designed in a way to keep you in them monetizing. Right. And some companies do it in a slimy way. Other ones do it in like, you just paid your $20, you're done. Right. So, yeah.
Right.
I have my soapbox.
I hope that answered Mecca's question. It's all great answers, and we could go much deeper in this, but we are running out of time. So, Koopa Kid sent in a question saying, did you guys see the trailer for the Tetris movie on Apple TV? Any thoughts? Did you guys get a chance to watch that trailer?
Yep.
Yes.
I did.
Philip, what's your thoughts on that movie trailer?
I think it looks cool. I'd like to watch it.
Yeah,
it's a cool story.
So, yes, yeah. I thought it was an interesting take, definitely on that. Where I wasn't expecting it to be that interesting, so I'm actually looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I laughed when they had the shot of like the car driving up, like this incredible chase sequence happening. I'm like, well, I don't know if that happened, but
and then it ends in this like pixelated thing, right? Like, it starts looking like when I first heard there was going to be a Tetris movie, I was like, oh my gosh. I was imagining like that Adam Sandler Pixels movie where like the Tetris blocks are coming to life and like it's alien invasion or something. But this is a really unique video game movie, right? I mean, it's the story of the game. Mm-hmm. So
it's kind of a dramatized documentary. It's
right.
It's based on truth, but there's there's some fun in there.
Yeah. There's some really good there's a couple of good actors that are in there that I recognize. There might be more, but Taron Egerton from Kingsman and Rocket Man, he's the lead. And then Tugo Aigawa is geez. Jesse, can you read those names for me?
Hiroshi Yamauchi.
He looked great.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so I thought that was really cool too. So and there's plenty of other actors and actresses that are doing this movie, so it's really cool, and it's interesting to see because I noticed there's a lot more of these type of products coming to the world and their story, type movies, between this and some of the vehicle ones, like in the shoe one, Nike's coming out too soon. So about the first Air Jordans.
Was that real? I couldn't tell if that was real or not.
Well, it's based on I thought it was true story.
Yeah, but at the end of, I thought it was just a funny Nike commercial. I don't know if it was actually.
Oh no, that's a movie. No, that's a movie.
Oh god.
Nope. It's about signing Michael Jordan as he was a rookie for the Nike shoes.
I thought it was just one of those weird Super Bowl commercials.
Nope. As far as
oh no.
Now you're scaring me. I don't think that's what it was. No, I think it's a real movie. So, but yeah.
We'll find out if we ever see another commercial.
Yes. All right. Any other thoughts on the movie? All right.
It looks good and I will watch it.
All right. The informant asks, "Hey dads, what's your favorite music genre or band, or a few favorites if that's easier?"
I'll run mine quickly. Matchbox 20, Mumford & Sons, Dermot Kennedy.
Nice.
For me lately, it's been lo-fi music. I really enjoy it. Put it on while I'm at work, while I'm driving. It's great. It's a Lo-Fi Girl on Apple or Spotify. They're on both. But as far as bands that I really enjoy, like when I'm not listening to that, 90s alternative stuff, Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden, Creed. But then I get a little more, like my music taste is all over the place. Hootie, Primus, Red Hot Chili Peppers, there's a ton of those bands that like had their heyday when I was a teenager. And so like the other night we were driving home from something, and I was playing a song by Primus, and my daughter looked at me and she was like, "Who is this? Who is Primus?" And I was like, "It's Primus." And they're one of the greatest jam bands of all time. And the song was "Shake Hands with Beef" is the name of the song. And it's like a killer bass line. That's why I like it. And she was like,
"Oh, they have a great bassist there." Yeah.
She said, "Are they popular? Do people like them?" And I was like, "Well, I'm a person and I like them." And yes, they're pretty popular. They've been around for a while. And so we started talking. I was like, they were around when I was your age, and like they were playing with Stone Temple Pilots. And she's like, "Who is that?" And I was like, so we put on Interstate Love Song, which is one of the top 5 greatest rock and roll songs ever written. I'm sorry. So we put that on, and we're singing, I'm singing along and everything. And I was like, and then, Nirvana. And she looked at me and dead serious. She goes, "Nirvana's a band?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I just thought it was a t-shirt with a smiley face on it." And I was like, "Oh my God,
man. This is on you.
I have failed this child." And I was like, "Have you never listened to anything like this?" And she's like, "I just like to listen to pop music." And I was like, "Well, not anymore." Nope.
How old is she?
That's blocked. It's banned. She's 14.
All right. I was going to say, you could just be like, you might know the theme song of South Park. That's Primus. That's one way to
look. It's not like we haven't listened to these songs before. It's not like we haven't been listening to good music her entire life, right? But now if it's not on a reel or a TikTok, it's not a cool song to her. Anyway, shake my old man fist.
Jesse, what are you into?
Yeah, I grew up as a genre. I grew up listening to oldies, like 50s, 60s, 70s, and then when I was like in high school, I did listen to modern music at the time. So pretty much most from 50s until the early 90s, pretty much that whole 40-year range I'm okay with. My favorite band would probably be Beatles. I would have said that in high school, and 30 years later, I'm still saying that now.
Solid choice.
Nice. So for me, I'm all over the place like you, Marty. So it's like from somebody who grew up with classic rock, Christian rock, hip hop, and R&B because of various influences around me. I grew up with that, so my tastes have grown since that point. Grown into, especially being in the Detroit area, getting into techno and house, and all that kind of stuff. And then some heavy rock, obviously the grunge era and all that kind of stuff. So, and all the way up till now, I guess I have my phases. Like I'll have phases where I want to get it. Like I think in the warmer months, I like listening to more heavy bass songs. So I'll listen to a lot of hip hop or even some EDM type stuff. So because I can put the windows down and I'm that person who rolls down the street and you hear the bass in their car. So because I like my bass. So I'm trying to look at some of the stuff I listen to with that kind of stuff, like Big Sean, I think is one of those artists, ASAP Rocky. Well, there's another artist actually I've been into though that's kind of got a country hip hop feel, if that's a thing, and that's Jelly Roll. I don't know if anybody's heard of him. But
I have a funny story about Jelly Roll that I'll tell in the post show.
Okay.
Preview. If you want to sign up to be a $10 patron, I got free food at a restaurant one time because someone thought I was Jelly Roll.
All right. You just give away that entire thing.
Wow.
I'll tell the whole story because it's even it's pretty weird.
All right.
Great.
So yeah, I like a lot of bass type stuff, but I've lately been getting back into the rock stuff. Like Alter Bridge is one of my favorite bands, and Linkin Park because they just came out with their 20th anniversary of Meteoria. Jeez, it was hard to say. But Linkin Park celebrating 20 years of that album, and they released a song, I guess that wasn't out before with that. So I've been listening to some Linkin Park, one of my all-time favorite bands, Alter Bridge, Korn. I really like some of that heavier stuff.
Yep.
So I've been on that kick lately, and I always like listening to new stuff. So my daughter, who's 17, has been always giving me new stuff to listen to as well. So it probably doesn't cover everything I like to listen to, but that's what I've been mostly into.
And then, of course, I also like Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh yeah, that's a given, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What about you, Philip?
Did you give yours?
So I'm the biggest nerd here, I guess. When I'm working, I don't like to hear lyrics, so I'm just listening to game music and crap all day. A lot. Well,
that's what lo-fi is for me when I'm working.
Well, yeah, lo-fi, the vaporware stuff, all that stuff. But no, I like all sorts of stuff. Especially the 90s stuff got me. I love 80s stuff. Grunge era. I mean, I grew up with all that too. I'll keep my answer nice and simple.
Yeah. I don't know what my ratios are now, but like 15 years ago when I was just kind of starting my iTunes library, I'd say like half of my library was like video game music of some kind. And then half of what's left was Weird Al. And then that last 25% was just everything else.
Here's my
This was before I had Beatles music in my library because that wasn't available yet.
What for my video game thing is I like obscure Japanese computer game music like the PC 98 and stuff. There's some wild stuff. There's some cool stuff. Yes. Like these games I've never even heard of, and it's like the soundtrack's awesome. And then you find out it's like some porn game. You're just like, what the heck? Oh, I don't understand, but
right.
As you do. Well, guys, that is the end of our questions for tonight.
Did Justin go for his music?
Yeah, mine were real quick. It was Matchbox 20, Mumford & Sons, and Dermot Kennedy are kind of my...
Not what's his name about letting your backbone slide?
Maestro Fresh West, but Let Your Backbone Slide, Canadian classic from 1989. Of course, that's standard. I don't even need to say that. Right?
Right. So before we close out, I wanted to say what Quag said in chat. Listen, Canadians, it's ZR, not ZR, on the Pro Controller for the right trigger button. And I will reply with, I'll even say ZR.
There you go.
It's ZR. I'm sorry. It's printed right there, ZR. Anyway.
I like that. Is every Canadian supposed to have a Tragically Hip tattoo? Tragically Hip are a tremendously amazing band from Canada, and they are like the anthem of our country, and even sadder that the lead singer passed away a couple of years ago. But like, they were having a final tribute tour that they broadcasted on CBC, and like everyone around the Canada just like sat around and watched the Tragically Hip and like sang along. And it was like one of those concerts. I'm not a huge Tragically Hip fan, but I really wish I had attended a Tragically Hip concert, because now they don't exist.
I want to note here that Justin did not either confirm or deny the existence of a Tragically Hip tattoo somewhere on his body. So we'll just move on from that point, and we'll close out the show. We want to thank you for hanging out with us for episode 414, especially Philip Summers from HandDrawnGamingGuides.com. Thank you so much for your time and your input for the show. We love having you on. Would love for you to come back at some point.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you be sure to go over to HandDrawnGamingGuides.com and check out his not his Kickstarter, his Patreon, and where you can get those guides or magazines mailed to you every month. You can get PDFs of all the ones that are already out. You can check out his awesome work over there. We want to thank all of the folks who subscribe to us on YouTube and Twitch. And thank you to the 19 Twitch subscribers who also get access to our Discord community and activities, thanks to throwing their Twitch Prime subscription our way. And remember, if you're doing that, you can do that every month. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can throw that toward us on Twitch, and you get access to the Discord as well. But we also want to say a huge thanks to all of our Patreon friends and friends of the show, especially everybody from the $1 all the way up to $30. You guys are awesome. Thank you for making everything that goes on here at Nintendo Dads possible. I want to remind you to check out our website. That's nintendodads.org. You can head over to get Spotify podcast feeds on all of our shows, as well as the other parts of the Nintendo Dads family of podcasts, like Game Pass News, where Nick and Sean go over the week's Xbox news and Game Pass releases. Dads After Dark, where John and Drew talk about video games, and then TV shows and sports and raising kids and waifu stories, and everyone's favorite Drew topic, animal care. And since it's an adults only podcast, they're never afraid to have some straight up honest chat. Just make sure the kids aren't around when you're listening to those. You can also listen to the Retro Logic family of podcasts featuring Retro Logic with Dan, John, and Sam, covering retro gaming and retro gaming collecting topics. On Topic Retro with John and a guest doing an in-depth overview and analysis of specific retro games. And Retro Groove with Adam and Liam discussing music from generations, all generations types. And Film Logic with Mike, Eston, and every now and then a guest talking about all the things to watch. You can also find our YouTube videos, links to all our social media, and our Nintendo Dads merch over there, unless, the ninjas make it disappear. You can find us in most places like Patreon, Twitter, wherever. Just type in NINDADS and we're there. Email us at nintendodads@gmail.com or call in and leave us a sweet voicemail at 929-25-NDADS. That's 929-256-3237. So a big thanks to OC Remix for the music used throughout the show. And remind you, wherever you download this podcast, wherever you listen to it, the audio version, whatever your podcatcher of choice, go and give us a 5-star review and some written words there. It helps people find the show, and it spreads the good news of Nintendo Dads to more and more people. So for me, for Justin, for Jesse, for Tim, and Philip Summers, this has been episode 414. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Nintendo Dads.
Please understand